All right, and we are back. So let's just bring up the bracket, see what we got here. So we've got 6 competitors today, and we're in a round robin format, which is basically everyone plays everybody else. So each player should be playing, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 matches today. Let's see, who do we have? Alphen, Warwick, Maliv, Exordium, that's Sly Russian, and Liam. So I think we have a couple of new faces this time, a couple of champions as well. So we've got a good mix. We've definitely got a good mix of people this time around. I'm just gonna double check and see who is going to be fighting first. We have a couple of people who are selecting characters and some people who are selecting formation format. But it looks like we have some people already battling, so we're gonna go to that. We're gonna go to that game right now. Gonna jump on over to the game. My bad. All right, so we have Maliv and Liam in our first match that we're going to be spectating today. Today we have on this battlefield we have 2 columns. So one of the new restricted layouts right here. Maliv is using the Warrior, the Berserker, and the Ranger, and Liam is using the Chemist, the Ranger, and the Warrior at this point. Liam using the Warrior to protect the Chemist, and Maliv using the Warrior to protect the Ranger. Liam decides to focus up with the Ranger. Maliv decides to get off a quick shot, both using the support stance with the Ranger. We're seeing a Vigor Potion come from the Chemist to affect the Warrior. Maliv's coming in with their Warrior to try to focus down that Ranger while the Ranger is still unprotected as of right now. Solid combo from Liam between the Warrior and the Ranger. However, Maliv does use their Sentinel stance from their Warrior in order to make them think twice about that a little bit. Using just another solid combo from the Berserker and the Ranger to take out Liam's Ranger, which is going to set them back a little bit since they kind of invested in that character using focus. So that character could have gotten off a really, really nice chunk of damage with their focus ability, which does elemental damage in a kind of plus format, plus sign format. But they were not able to get that off. So as of right now, Maliv has the upper hand. However, Liam does have 2 relatively healthy characters left, and the Warrior and the Chemist are very synergistic with each other. So they can definitely dish out some damage and also survive for a while. Liam taking some time to figure out what they want to do. They are going to try to focus up and keep basically banking on that Chemist staying alive until they can get off one of their very powerful focus abilities. Opting for a lurk stance to be able to go a little bit quicker. Maliv does have the Warrior and the Ranger in their in the turn order before that Chemist can go again. So they're gonna have to try to either take out the Chemist or take out the Warrior. It looks like they're going to be focusing on Liam's Warrior as of right now. Liam could be doing one of 2 things with that focus. Could be trying to heal the Warrior up, which with their high amount of defense stats could definitely go a long way. Extra health helps out immensely. Otherwise, they could be trying to use that Flame Flask to, say, finish off the Ranger or deal an incredible amount of damage to that Berserker. The Berserker does have their Impose stance up, so that is a very costly melee attack against the Berserker as right now. The Berserker's Impose stance, basically, whenever a character does a melee attack against the Berserker, they will retaliate in kind, which does a chunk of damage. So that's what we're dealing with right now. Liam's in kind of a tough spot because it seems like they're going to be picked off by the Ranger. However, if the Ranger does pick off Liam's Warrior, that does give the Chemist the last one standing bonus, which increases their damage output immensely. So if we see a Flame Flask out from Liam's Chemist, that's going to do a huge chunk of damage. And indeed, Maliv is going to take the sure thing and take out Liam's warrior, putting them down to a single character, the chemist. The chemist is a little bit vulnerable, squishy, one might say. However, they can output a lot of damage with their flame flask, so it depends on what they're going to try to prioritize here. Taking out the ranger would probably be a good idea. However, it does do a lot of damage on the berserker. We do see a dodge from the ranger, which is particularly devastating here, especially because of that flame flask does do a lot of damage. However, it will do some damage to the ranger in time. Trading blows here with the berserker. The berserker is going to take a lot of damage because of that last one standing bonus. However, Maliv does have a lot of health to go around. So as with any game that has multiple characters, health is a resource. So don't be afraid to use it. And that definitely paid off for Maliv in this early match. So we're just going to go back to the bracket right now. As this is a best of 3 that we are doing today for each one of these matches. Let's see. Liam still has a chance to come back if they win the next 2 fights. Maliv only has to take 1. So yeah, overall, some interesting stuff that came out of these fights. One of which being the warrior's sentinel stance. Not always used in these kind of situations, since their guard stance is very, very powerful. So people, if people are going to use the warrior on a 3x3 grid battlefield, generally they're going to want to use a layout, a character formation that takes advantage of that guard stance, which requires there being an extra spot behind them. However, Maliv did use a very intriguing strategy that really utilized Sentinel, which in the right circumstances, primarily in situations where the opponent doesn't have that much ranged damage output, it can be very good, particularly devastating, especially since in combination with the Berserker's Intimidate, Berserker doesn't have to be necessarily in that column, so the Berserker can go rogue and kind of do what they want, perhaps even protecting another character such as the Ranger. So in short, that's basically the strategy that Maliv uses right now, and we'll see if Liam can come back from that and change up their strategy, change up their layout, change up their characters. There's a lot of different things you can do, but for now we are going to see what exactly is going on with the tournament right now. I'm going to see who is in battle right now. We have a couple of battles right now that are going on. However, there is a round going between Warwick's and that Sly Russian, and they are selecting formation and loadout as of right now. And we're just gonna wait for them to start their battle. It looks like they're actually starting right now, so we're gonna switch over. Then we got. Oh, excuse me. This is Maliv and Liam. My bad. We're going to just quit out of this real quick, and we'll come back to that in just a moment. How's everyone doing today? We're doing good. Got lots of battles ahead of us. So hopefully we're going to see a lot of cool stuff going on here. We're actually going to attempt to hop into a battle that has already been going on for a little while, but I'm very excited to see how this battle is shaping up. We're going to hop into a battle between Warwick's and that Sly Russian. I will try to keep up with the commentary, but as this fight has already been going on for a little while, we're going to try to catch up. So we've got The other battlefield layout that we just added in this patch, which we have only 2 rows. So Warwick's using character 6 in this layout. They're going to put that totem out immediately and start dealing damage to the ranger with that. That Sly Russian is using the warrior the chemist to boost up the warrior with their damage output. We're going to see what they do with the ranger here. Looks like they're going to be starting to focus down character 6, which is probably a good idea because they're going to have a lot of basically influence over the battlefield here. Doing a very classic combo with the berserker and the warrior over on Warwick's side, just being able to dish out a ton of damage even in spite of the warrior's high defensive stats. Looks like that Sly Russian is going to be trying to focus down Warwick's berserker. Probably, that's a very valid target right now because the berserker has a very, very high damage output. Berserker is Warwick's is going to use trade blows to try to get off as much damage as possible on that Sly Russian's warrior. Let's see what they do with character 6 here. They mostly have been trying to damage the ranger with that. However, they're going to use a pressure release to hit that Sly Russian's warrior and get that bonus attack from the berserker's tunnel vision on the warrior. That Sly Russian is going to use their ranger to focus up and switch to an evasive stance to try to dodge incoming damage. Let's see. Yep, they're going to use a pressure release on that Sly Russian's chemist, trying to get out as much damage as possible right there. Let's see what this engineer is going to do. This chemist is going to do. They're going to use Adrenaline Boost to have that Sly Russian's warrior go immediately. Warrior's down to 5 health. They're going to use Inspire on the chemist to see what they can do in order to protect their other characters. Now, Warwick's has a couple options here, but they're going to go with the sure shot of knocking out that chemist while they can, basically cutting them off from their focus ability. And we have a relatively panicked Sly Russian right here. They're going to use that ranger, seemingly mistakenly moving into that front row. There's a reason to move in the front row. It increases the ranger's evasive stance. However, they are going to be in that steam, which is they're going to take damage on at the start of their turn. Character 6 switching to the stun module to slow down that ranger, and then finishing up the battle with that berserker. So action-packed fight. A little one-sided right now. Warwick's being a Steamhounds champion before, really doing their homework, taking advantage of the new character in these very limited space battlefields. So, awesome match. Coincidentally, Warwick's layout is very similar to one of my favorite ones. So, it's interesting to see that already. But let's see who is in battle right now. All right. Let's see who else is fighting right now. We're going to switch over to a battle between Exordium and Alphen. I believe this is round 2 with Alphen taking the first... the first round. We see another limited battlefield layout that we just added into this rotation. Again, the 2-column approach. Exordium using the warrior, chemist, and ranger. Alphen using the warrior, the chemist, and the ranger. So we have a little bit of a mirror match here, but these 2 teams starting off the battle with slightly different character layouts. Exordium going for a more hybrid approach, and Alphen going for a total just 1-column approach, really using that warrior's sentinel stance to their advantage. Exordium getting off some early damage on Alphen's chemist. Seeing a lot of protection on Exordium's side, trying to protect their ranger, making it as punishing as possible to select to try to damage that character. Alphen does have a range character with their chemist and their ranger for the most part. However, Exordium is going to focus up and use that flame flask. Now, with any luck, they're also going to be able to take out Alphen's chemist as soon as possible, and they do. Taking advantage of that low health so that they can knock that out. It wasn't 100% necessary to do that. They could have gotten away with not doing that. However, the chemist healing stance, the healing vapors, I believe it is called right now, is able to heal other characters as well, so it wouldn't have done as much good for Exordium at that point. So they just said, you know what, I'm just going to take out that character as fast as possible. Let's see what character Exordium is going to target next. They're kind of passing things off, focusing up. It looks like they're going to go for Alphen's warrior as soon as they can. However, that is a tanky warrior. Also has a vigor potion active, so when that character attacks next, it's not going to be good for one of Exordium's characters. The chemist is up on Exordium's side. Let's see what they do. They have a lot of options here. They're going to use vigor potion on their own warrior as of right now. Switching over to healing vapor to really try to keep that warrior healed up, kind of giving up a little bit on Exordium's ranger. Kind of think, if they can't dodge it, they're probably going to die anyway. Or, excuse me, they're going to get knocked out anyway. So they're basically leaving it up to the dice. And it looks like luck is on their side right now. Getting a very good dodge off here. Alphen's warrior is up right now. So depending on what character they select, they will... Yep, let's see what happens here. Taking a lot of damage. However, securing the KO on Exordium's ranger. Alphen switching over to a sentinel stance, considering that Exordium is going to have to use a melee attack to use that focus. So Exordium's going to take a little bit of damage on their warrior if they do an offensive ability right here. However, considering how much health that warrior has, at least in my book, that would be worth it. Getting a sentinel stance off, but using that focus ability to make that, to make that ranger off balance, pushing them back in the turn order, which is really going to help Exordium get off another attack before that ranger can switch their stance back to their evasion, which increases their dodge chance. Exordium switching back over to Alphen's warrior. Securing that kill, switching over to a sentinel stance. So as of right now, Exordium's chemist is a little bit vulnerable, but Alphen is going to decide to try to keep on focusing down the warrior because Exordium's strategy really revolves around that character as of right now. They are going to get another attack off. Let's see what Exordium does here. Now, if you're looking up at the turn order right now, the ranger, being a relatively fast character, is going to get 2 turns in a row, so they can definitely set up something interesting if they are able to survive whatever Exordium's chemist is cooking up as of right now. All right. Exordium is going to use an adrenaline boost to get that ward, have one more attack. Really trying to get off as many attacks as possible. We are going to see a dodge here, so that spells a little bit of trouble for Exordium. But they're going to switch to a defensive stance so they can hopefully weather the blows from Alphen's ranger. Exordium has to figure out how to get through that evasive stance. So it looks like they're probably going to want to try to get out some damage from that chemist. So whether that's from focusing up and getting off that flame flask, using the adrenaline as much as possible, but we'll see. Alphen's Ranger is focusing up and is going to use a field kit, which gives them 10 health and also increases their damage output for the next few turns. So at this point in the game, definitely worth it from Alphen's side. The warrior is focusing up. Let's see what they do here. All right, I'm seeing another focus from Exordium's Chemist. Alphen has a huge damage boost right now from the last one standing and the field kit, doing 17 damage to the warrior. One more of those and the warrior's out. So let's see what Exordium does here. Seems like they're probably going to gamble on a big attack. And that is a dodge. However, Alphen's Ranger is off balance, which allows Exordium's Chemist to go next. Let's see if Exordium goes for a long-term strategy or a short-term strategy. It seems like they're going to go for a long-term strategy and use the recovery patch on the warrior. Alphen's Ranger is up next, still getting that bonus damage from the first aid. Getting off another quick shot. If Exordium's Chemist didn't get off that, their healing vapor, that recovery patch, they would be in a little bit of in dire straits right now. But they're recovering so much health at this point that it seems like they're going to weather the barrage from Alphen. Exordium trying to get that warrior as many turns as possible into the rotation. They're also, by having the warrior go before Alphen's Ranger again, able to get off another charge of that recovery patch to get their health up faster. Now, Alphen's Ranger does have 2 turns before Exordium's warrior can go again. So let's see what kind of strategy they have going on here. If Alphen goes for another focus into first aid, which it looks like they're going to do, we're going to be seeing a little bit of a turtling match going on here. So let's see who is going to change their strategy in order to increase their damage output. Yep, we're going to see another field kit right here. To increase that damage output and to also get some healing back. Another focus on Exordium's side. Still doing what they're doing. Chemist is up once again. Also focusing up. So we're seeing a lot of long-term strategies on both sides. This is kind of a symmetrical outcome right here. However, it seems, at least from my calculations, it looks like Alphen's Ranger is at 5 less health than they were last time this situation was going on. All right, Exordium going for a more aggressive approach, connecting with that Flame Flask, and I think connecting with that Flame Flask is going to, I think that's going to spell a win for Exordium at this point. And Alphen's Ranger does not dodge in this situation, and that seals it. That's done. Exordium walks away with a win. All right. So it looks like the match between Malieve and Liam has finished, and Malieve does take that matchup for their first win. Malieve being the previous champion in the last tournament, a very strong contender in the last in the last couple of tournaments. So it's exciting to see what previous champions will do in order to try to dethrone them this patch. All right. We're just gonna wait a little bit and see how things are shaping up for our other contestants right now. Looks like, hopefully we'll see it in a couple seconds here. I can see it on the back end, but we're just waiting for this bracket to update. There we go. Looks like Warwick's matchup with that Sly Russian, he does take that for a win this time round. So Warwick's and Malieve, both tournament champions from past tournaments. They take a couple of early wins here. So I personally cannot wait for this matchup to happen. So let's see what battles are going to be starting within the next minute. All right. I just checked the number of viewers in the chat. It's relatively large. It's awesome to see so many people here. We're just gonna wait for a little bit until another match starts. But seriously, thanks for all you guys for coming out and checking out these fights that we have today. Tournament day is always super exciting because it lets us see really how people are using different characters with the new content that comes out. So if you are a new follower, a new viewer, feel free to seriously join the Discord server, excuse me, down here. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Twitch. You're already here, so you can just press that follow button. That would be really awesome. I would super appreciate that. We all would. And if you're watching and you're not participating, don't worry about it. Just we're here to chill. We're here to watch some cool fights. Maybe some point you want to throw your hat into the ring. So these battles, they're mostly for everybody to just play with other players with our game, which I think is pretty good. But also, there's some cool stuff that you can get in our Discord. You can get some cool titles, Tournament Champion being one of them. And also, there are a couple of Steam gift cards up for grabs every single tournament that we do. First and second place do get Steam gift cards. So yeah, another reason to play. Yeah, thanks for chiming in, Agra. Thanks thanks for saying we have a great game. We're still on early stages and we have some really cool features coming out. And in the next couple of months, I really wish I could say more, but we're super excited behind the scenes right now. So thanks for viewing today. And again, yeah, if you're watching and you haven't followed us, like seriously, we don't stream that much. It's basically every 2 weeks on Saturday and whenever we have a tournament. So promise not to spam. Promise not to spam your Twitch notifications. But it helps us so much if you do that. So yeah, feel free. All right, I'm just gonna check and see who's fighting right. So we have a match that is live right now between Maliv and Warwick, and we're gonna switch over to that. Both of these being tournament champions last time, so we're just gonna switch on over. Let's go. All right. Maliv using Berserker, Warrior, and Ranger, similar to their last layout. However, we are going to be seeing them using this in the the two-row format. Warwick's using their same strategy, integrating Character 6, though, instead of the Ranger. So we'll see how this matchup goes. Character 6 being very strong on this layout. However, they're a little bit weak to range damage, so seeing Maliv use that Ranger can be a little bit dangerous. However, it looks like Maliv is going to start focusing down the Warrior, seemingly thinking, their thought process being that just the Ranger attacking Character 6 over and over again is not going to be enough damage output at this point in time. So they're going to try to focus on the Warrior, which is basically very central to Warwick's strategy, using the Warrior to protect Character 6, using the Warrior to basically trigger the Berserker's tunnel vision stance pretty often. So we're going to see how this battle shapes up. Warwick's getting some early damage off on Maliv's Berserker, really using that totem, and which does elemental damage, which the Berserker is weak against. So normally at a neutral amount of armor, that would only do like 3 damage. It's doing 5 damage to the Berserker every single round, and the Berserker is pretty slow, so they're not really able to move out of harm's way. So we're gonna see Maliv's Berserker melt from the elemental damage pretty quickly. Warwick's is on Character 6, so let's see what they do here. Maliv's Berserker is up next, so they have a couple options. They could get in a pressure release to get some additional elemental damage off on the Berserker. Not sure if that's going to be enough to finish off the Berserker, but it looks like it's going to be pretty close. So they are going to use that pressure release to do 7 damage now and some damage at the start of the Berserker's turn, because they're starting a turn in that pressure release spot. They are down to literally 1 health. That is absolutely incredible. So Maliv is going to be able to get off and attack somewhere. Probably, hopefully they don't pick Warwick's as Berserker. That is a good thing, because it does have the Intimidate stance on. They're going to get off a little bit more damage on Warwick's, Warrior, before they are picked off by one of Warwick's characters as of right now. Now, the Berserker is definitely a little bit fragile at this point, especially since the Maliv's Warrior does not have their defensive protection stance up. So it looks like Warwick's is going to be able to pick off that Berserker pretty much immediately. So let's see what they do here. They are definitely going to pick off that Berserker. So, something that Maliv could have done. Maliv was going for a little bit of a greedier strategy, trying to get off another one of those tunnel visions. If they kind of looked at the turn order, they might have chosen the Intimidate stance, so that even if Warwick's Berserker was going to try to pick off Maliv's Berserker, the Warwick's Berserker would take some damage from that Intimidate stance. So it looks like Maliv is going to continue focusing down Warwick's Warrior right now. However, Warwick's Warrior does have another turn before Maliv can use their Warrior to hopefully pick off Warwick's Warrior. So let's see what happens here. Maliv does have Character 6 up and running, full health with that totem out. Let's see if we see a focus here. Let's see if we see... No, we don't. We see we see a pressure release from Warwick's Character 6 doing some initial damage, and noticing that Maliv's Ranger is not using their evasive stance, so they're definitely a little wide open. Really taking advantage of that. Lots of combos going on as of right now. Getting in as much damage as possible on Believe's Ranger before they're able to, one, move that character, two, you know, use use that evasive stance to mitigate some damage. Warwick switching over to a Sentinel stance, noticing that Malieve's warrior is up next. So in order for Malieve's warrior to try to finish off Warwick's warrior, they're going to have to get into that melee range. So Malieve might take a little bit of damage at this point, but it depends on whether or not they see that basically eliminating Warwick's warrior is worth it at this point. Character 6 is vulnerable, but I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do 39 damage between one warrior turn and one ranger turn. It looks like it's gonna be close, but you never know. Warrior switching over to that Sentinel stance. They will take 3 damage from they are going to take 3 damage from that totem, though, and they will every single turn. The warrior having a decent amount of armor, though, so they're not going to take as much as the berserker, that's for sure. Malieve switching out the warrior in the front row so that that ranger can get into the front row to get that additional dodge percentage chance. Let's see if Warwick is still going to try to pick off that ranger. It only has 3 health, so basically any source of damage is going to pick them off at this point. Warwick has a couple of options for damage output. They could do a pressure release. They could do the disruptor blade. Pressure release probably being a good choice because it has basically 2 chances to do damage. Once immediately and once at the start of another turn. And they're going to use that pressure release, and the ranger does not dodge that pressure release, basically knocking them out. Leave down to 1 character. However, that is the warrior at pretty high health, with an attack damage bonus being from last one standing and their stance right now. So let's see what Warwick's berserker is going to do. Now, as I have said plenty of times, use your health as a resource, and the berserker has tons of it. So the berserker is going to take a ton of damage right now. However, they are able to get 17 damage off on Malieve's warrior because they use trade blows. Now, what trade blows does is the berserker takes a little bit of damage from whoever they are attacking at that point. However, they are able to do some additional damage output from that attack compared to their other abilities. Now, they're going to start using some combo output from character 6 using their pressure release plus the berserker's tunnel vision. It looks like Warwick is going to use that wasn't enough. So it looks like Malieve's warrior was able to pick off Warwick's warrior. Warwick's not calculating that damage output. It might have been really close. It seems like it was just enough, to be honest, from Malieve's sentinel stance. Not able to get off that combo from the berserker's tunnel vision. So it looks like things are getting pretty tight right now. Malieve does concede, so I guess it was a little bit too close. Very close match though. Malieve could have definitely taken out character 6, and switching to a sentinel stance for that last attack against the berserker. Maybe that was enough, but especially since they did have that last one standing bonus. So I guess we'll never know, but maybe someone can crunch some numbers later to see if that might have been it. Who knows? All right. Let's go back to the bracket and see what's going on here. So Alphen, Warwick, and Malieve taking their first matches. So we have Exordium, that Sly Russian, and Liam down at the bottom of the bracket right now, but everyone still has 4 matches left. Still plenty of time to get some wins in at this point. Right. Really exciting stuff. we're seeing some cool things, I think, especially with character 6 coming in and getting some wins. Kind of a pet character for me, but a pet character for all of us since it's one of the first new characters in a long time. However, not for long, because new characters will be coming into the roster relatively soon. Actually, we're working on another character right now. Not going to give away too much stuff at this point, but we are working on another character, and we're hopefully going to be getting them in a little under a month from now. So expect to see some sneak peeks. Expect to see some cool stuff. We'll be leaking some stuff probably. We're too excited. We can't wait. We're probably going to be telling people what it's kind of what's going on with that character. So, you know, if you ask us, we might tell you some stuff. So, let's see what's going on right now. We're going to hop into a match that has been going on for a little while, actually, right now. But we're going to try to catch up. It's between Liam and that Sly Russian. So we're going to switch over to that. All right. On Liam's side, we see character 6, the Ranger, and the Warrior. On that Sly Russian side, we have the first appearance, I believe, or at least of stuff that we've been spectating today, of the Engineer. So Engineer and the Ranger, an excellent combo with the Ranger's Trap, especially effective on battlefield layouts like this that are a little bit tighter. So definitely a cool thing. Liam using both character 6 and the Ranger as of right now. The combination of those two characters together can really clog up that battlefield. So as of right now, on that Sly, on which I'm going to be calling Sly from now because we're going to do that for short. On Sly's side, there's only one free space open, so they're really going to have to shuffle their characters around if they need to switch up the layout. Basically, Sly's Warrior has to use that Sentinel stance as of right now because they're not in a position to protect anyone. Sly using Focus, getting right back up there with Levitate. Their only danger is on Liam's side from that Ranger. So we'll see if the Ranger is going to focus down Sly's Ranger, or nope, they're just gonna focus up and start doing that AoE elemental damage as of right now. Liam is going to use character 6 to move that totem to try to start focusing down Sly's Engineer as of this point. But it looks like, depending on people who know what the Engineer can do, Liam should be a little bit scared right now. So hopefully Sly can get off that Engineer's AoE attack, which attacks the front person in each row, and it does, completely knocking out character 6 and dealing some decent damage to Liam's Ranger and their Warrior. That Ranger is going to use a field kit, though, to get that health back up, get some damage output in the mid game here, and really picking off Sly's Engineer. So a brilliant attack from Sly, but Liam is getting that damage output, able to take out that Ranger before they could use that focus. Looks like Sly is going to try to get off as many of those AoE attacks as possible, especially since the Engineer is probably going to get picked off by the Ranger very soon. Sly basically forcing Liam to use that Ranger to pick off that Engineer. Now the Warrior's up. Sly getting hit by a massive amount of damage from Slam, getting that attack bonus as well from the Sentinel stance. Not looking too good on Sly's side. Brilliant strategy, but since Liam is using the Ranger, they're very weak against, range attacks at this point. So Sly getting off a ton of damage, using that Sentinel stance, disallowing Liam's Liam's warrior from using a melee attack. So instead, Liam decides to use that inspire to boost their ranger right here, using explosive round to get off a little bit more damage. Sly down to 1 health as of right now. Using sentinel stance though, Liam is able to pick off Sly's warrior before they can get off some damage to get that warrior out of the way. So brilliant, fast-paced match. Interesting strategies on both sides. However, there's a minor problem with Sly's strategy as of right now, just considering the matchup. The warrior 100% pick rate. As of right now, maybe the warrior has a very good skill, or excuse me, very good stance right now. That really helps squishier characters survive. I'm not going to say that is the most optimal strategy, but in terms of this meta and in this tournament, it is a character that gets picked very consistently. Darn, I wish I could say a little bit more about the next character. So all I'll say at this point is we'll see if the warrior continues to get a 100% pick rate. But the more a character is chosen, the more certain players are going to be trying to formulate strategies to take advantage of that. The warrior themselves not having a huge amount of counters. However, I will say that there are definitely characters right now that can prevent the warrior from doing what they do at 100% efficiency. So, that being said, let's see who we have in battle right now. So we have round 2 of the battle between Maleev and Warwick. So we're going to switch over to that right now. They've been battling for a couple of minutes, but we're going to switch on over and see how things are going. This is the round 2 between Maleev and Warwick. We're seeing our classic battlefield layout 3x3, not as limiting in strategies. So, and we can definitely see that right now. Maleev using a full column strategy and Warwick using a full row strategy, which you cannot do on either one of the current limiting battlefield layouts. So we're really seeing the full potential of this stacking up style strategy as of this point. Maleev getting off some big combos on Warwick's warrior right now. However, Warwick's definitely has some combos of their own, so we'll see what happens. Warwick's taking a lot of damage though from that sentinel stance, but however getting off a lot of damage with those support abilities. So it looks like Maleev is probably going to do the sure thing and try to knock out that warrior as soon as possible, which they do. Maleev opting to try to protect that ranger with the berserker as much as they possibly can, causing the berserker to take some damage. However, the berserker is going to use trade blows to use their massive amount of health to trade that off a little bit to get in as much damage to the ranger as possible. Now, all Warwick has to do is use their ranger on Maleev's ranger. And if Maleev's ranger does not dodge, that's the end. All right, and that's it. Maleev's ranger does go down, and Warwick's ranger is up. So we're in a 2v2 situation. The berserker is using an intimidate stance, so they are able to get off an attack after the fact. Maleev's ranger is up as of right now. Neither of one of those characters are using support style stances, so damage output has been reduced as of right now on both sides. Using trade blows here to see if they can really finish off that berserker. It is enough damage to finish off the berserker as of right now. That could have spelled kind of a disaster if they weren't able to knock out Warwick's berserker immediately. So, let's see what happens here. Warwick's ranger is deceptively powerful as of right now with their dodge and increased damage output. So this could cause a little bit of trouble on Maliv's side. Maliv opting to go for an Intimidate stance. Unfortunately, on maybe unbeknownst to them, that Intimidate stance only works on melee attacks, I believe. So, but Warwick's Ranger is very mobile, so we're not sure if either one of those stances are going to be completely effective as of right now. Warwick's is taking some more damage, slowly but surely. So let's see if Warwick's is going to finish off that warrior. They are, well, no, they got one more health, so it seems like Warwick's is going to get one more chance to get off. Maliv, excuse me, is going to get a chance to get off one more combo. So let's see if what they do with the Berserker here. If the Berserker is going to definitely attack Warwick's with some kind of basic ability. However, they are going to use trade blows to get some definite damage in there, knocking them down to 5 HP. If Maliv moves into the Ranger's row and uses tunnel vision, they can get off another chance, and that's exactly what they are going to do. So now Maliv has basically 2 chances to knock out Warwick's, and it seems like they're going to get it in 1. So Maliv does walk away with a win here. Pretty exciting match. Sorry, I switched to the wrong scene. Still new to this whole streaming thing, so apologies. Check out that bracket. So it looks like these matches between Warwick's and Maliv, it looks like we're gonna go to a best of 3. Something that hasn't really been seen a lot until this tournament. We're seeing a lot more best of 3s here. Which is pretty exciting, and that's just going to happen when more people play this game and figure out strategies, and everybody's skill level goes up. So the more of these fights that we're going to be seeing, the cooler stuff we're going to start seeing. So comeback was crazy. Yeah, that was super close. I would not have known who was going to win that, even going into the mid game, which is really cool to see. When we first started using doing tournaments and first started doing battles, overwhelmingly, and this is a little bit of stuff on the back end as of right now. Overwhelmingly, excuse me, I could totally talk right now. We would see that whoever got basically the first KO would probably win the match. But now it's looking that things are getting a little bit tighter, and it's definitely getting closer in these battles, and that's gonna happen when people start figuring out alternate strategies. So right now it looks like we're gonna switch over to the second battle between Liam and Sly. See how that's going. All right, we are seeing a 2-row formation once again. Character 6 on both sides. Not quite a mirror match because Liam is using the warrior and Sly is using that engineer. So Sly is definitely going for a more aggressive approach with their characters. All 3 of those characters have massive damage output potential. However, all their characters are relatively vulnerable, so let's see what happens if they can get by without that warrior on their side. Lots of opportunities for traps, lots of opportunities for that totem being very effective in these situations. But let's see what happens. We're seeing a delay turn from Liam, trying to get that combo potential up. One thing that you do have to realize is that if you use delay turn, you are not able to pick a stance. So definitely taking that into consideration here. Using that explosive round with the attack bonus to get off some early damage. It looks like Sly is going to get off one of their combos, thankfully, with that arm hook into the trap, getting off a support attack from the Ranger to completely finish off character 6. So Sly getting off a very complex combo that took a little bit of a setup, but definitely was worth it in this situation. Yeah, Sly saw the warrior pick rate. Yeah, at this point in the game, we don't have counter picking, like trading off picking. It's kind of a blind pick. But you are able to see what characters your opponent picks before you're able to put a formation in. So what you can do is you can metagame a little bit. You can understand that a lot of people are going to pick the warrior, and then play from there. But even if you don't do that, you can still see what characters your opponent is picking before you set up your formation, so you can really plan around that. Sly is able to get off one more combo there from that engineer before the engineer's done. And Liam doesn't early concede, understanding that it's hard to keep up if one player has 3 characters up and you only have one, even if it is a tanky offensive behemoth that is the warrior as of right now. So quick match, but definitely seeing another very interesting strategy. Using the engineer and the ranger as of right now. Character 6 definitely putting in work as well. Using those stances to get in a little bit of chip damage. Using their abilities to get in some support activations from the ranger. Yeah, it's been a really interesting tournament so far. Seeing a lot of interesting strategies, very varied as well. So everyone should be, I'm totally interested in seeing how those things collide in the next few matches. All right, who is fighting right now? So we have round 3 between Warwick and Maliv right now, so we're going to switch to that. A very exciting set of battles there, going all the way to that best of 3 as of right now. So let's see who's going to come out on top here. All right. Let's head on over. Seeing a mirror match. I think that's one of the first mirror matches we've had this tournament. So let's see what happens. They're both using a very similar layout right here. However, both of these players, they, let's see how this works. It all depends on, who's going to use focus abilities, who's going to focus down which character first. Looks like Warwick's going for that Berserker, but Berserker taking almost an equal amount of damage, particularly from that Intimidate and the Sentinel stance over on Maliv's side. Really getting in a lot of damage in edgewise here. Huge combos on this side. I think this is the longest combo I've ever seen. Very interesting, especially since Maliv's Berserker finally gets hit by that Ranger. That's absolutely incredible. If anyone's on Twitch right now, if you want to clip that, please do that. please clip that, because that was absolutely incredible. Huge combos coming in. And Maliv actually also being able to knock out Warwick's Berserker. Yeah, Phoenix, yeah, that was a huge combo. I think that's probably the maximum amount of combos you can get off of all these characters at once. Between all these stances at once, it's absolutely insane how quickly matches can go if you use those combos effectively. And that was a super efficient combo on both sides, defensively and offensively. So Maliv focusing up here with that Ranger, using the Warrior to focus up that Ranger. Maliv understanding that those characters are next to each other, so the Warrior just has to take some splash damage, and that's all it takes to knock them out. We are going to be seeing a lot of rounds of Ranger coming up in this turn order. But since both Maliv and Warwick have Rangers up, we're not going to see either player get multiple rounds with the same character off, or at least that's how it is shaping up as of right now. Maliv going for an interesting strategy of going in front of the Warrior to get the most out of that evasive stance, getting a higher dodge % chance if they're in the front row, but also giving a little bit of damage reduction onto the Warrior by being in front of them. So Warwick's also going on the defensive here since there's no one to support at this point. So right now they have a 35% dodge chance with that evasive stance. They do have the last one standing bonus up, but is that going to be enough? So normally what can happen here is that if Warwick was able to get that warrior down to be the last one there, they could get a couple of rounds in a row. However, that's not really going to be an option right now because both characters have, well, since it's a mirror match, both characters that are left at the end of the game here, they have equal amounts of speed. So it's going to be a trade-off. So definitely choosing to focus up and try to get that that first aid, that recovery patch in there is going to be costly. It could be a valid strategy given you know, the amount of damage output you could eventually get, but that is definitely that's definitely an investment, and it requires some calculations. So we're seeing a focus up on Warwick's side. Maybe they are going to go for that. Maybe they are going to go for that heal into a heightened damage output. Maliv could mirror that, but instead they're going for additional damage output with that quick shot, getting them down really low. So even if Warwick does heal here, they're going to have to rely on that dodge as of right now. They're going to have to rely on the dodge for this next attack because Maliv could take it away at this point. Maliv could actually take it away at any point as long as that attack is going to be valid. And that's 18 damage, and that's definitely enough to, you know, propel Maliv into taking that best of 3. So super exciting stuff. Hopefully we see that update right here. Come on. Update bracket. That's awesome, though. It's really interesting seeing early on in the matches between these two players, Maliv and Warwick, they were using separate strategies, definitely. And eventually they, one player decided that it was definitely worth it to see if they could like efficiency. That's not really a phrase, is it? See how like efficiently they could use that same strategy in a mirror match. And yeah, that's how you saw those huge combos, because that particular strategy utilizes full team combos all the time with the Berserker's tunnel vision and the Ranger's support stance. Both players going for knocking out the Berserker first. So definite same strategies going on there. But as you saw, it definitely got a little lopsided at the end. So definitely, if we go back and we watch a replay of that, we could definitely see what went wrong at what point. And definitely there was one point which I'm trying to remember who it was, but one of these players, I believe it was Maliv, got their you know, one of their characters was down to 1 health, but however there was just such overwhelming damage from the chain of combos that was going on that both those Berserkers got knocked out absolutely very quickly. So exciting stuff. Really cool to see here. All right. Let's see what we've got going on. So we've got, we're kind of in between fights right now. So we're gonna kind of wait a little bit until someone starts their matches. So yeah, if anyone wants to, you know, ask any questions, you know, try to get me to divulge some more development secrets, or not secrets really, but you know, we'll see what happens next. I believe there is a fight between Warwick and Exordium starting relatively soon. So we might see some stuff going on here. Looks like Warwick and Exordium are both selecting characters as of right now. So let's see what happens. I'm very interested to see what these character layouts are going to look like as of right now, since we did see a mirror match before, and that was because one player did decide to change their strategy into the mirror match. Let's see if they take that mirror match into this new match between a new character. Or excuse me, between another player. All right, it looks like we're just gonna join this fight real quick. There's Warwick and Exordium are still picking their formation and loadout, but we're just gonna load that up real quick so we can get in there as soon as they're ready to go. We're just gonna switch over real quick, and it looks like they're ready to go. All right, excellent. So Warwick has they are taking their strategy from their last matchup and bringing it into another battle. Exordium using the Warrior, Character 6, and the Chemist as of right now. Character 6 definitely still effective, however, not as effective on these wide open layouts, so let's see what happens. It looks like Exordium is doing some kind of turbo strategy with this character, with Character 6. So let's see what happens. Are they going to focus up? Are they going to use a steam? They are going to use pressure release to try to do as much damage to Warwick's Berserker as possible in a short amount of time. Now the Berserker being very slow, they're not going to be able to move out of the way. So it looks like they're going to be taking at least, let's see, 5, 10, 15, plus however much damage the pressure release does at the start of their turn. So it looks like they're going to be taking 25 damage, which puts them down to 15 health. Depending on what Exordium does, that could be it for Warwick's Berserker. Who knows? It's probably not going to be that because the Exordium's Warrior doesn't have a basic ability that gets off 15 damage immediately. However, so basically it will allow Warwick to get off one more attack with that Berserker, but it probably won't be enough to make a huge impact in this game. So, but we'll see what happens. Stranger things have definitely happened in these fights. So let's see what these players, what tricks they pull out of the bag. Warwick's thinking long and hard about who they're going to try to focus down and what they're going to do here. Definitely they see that Exordium's Warrior is protecting that Character 6. However, they're deciding to try to focus down Exordium's Chemist as soon as they possibly can. So we're going to see some combo damage right here. Definitely, and it looks like they're going to be very close to taking out Exordium's Engineer, their Chemist. So it looks like if I'm gonna try to think ahead a few rounds here, it looks like Warwick is probably going to be able to take out Character 6 before the Berserker goes down. But, you know, who knows what could happen? Or excuse me, not Character 6. They're not going to take off Exordium's Chemist very soon. Let's see what they do here. They could do some basic attack to try to do as much damage to the Berserker as possible, which it looks like they're going to do. They're going to take a little bit of damage from that Sentinel, but it's definitely worth it in the long run. Exordium looking to secure that kill on the Berserker. All right, we're seeing that Berserker absolutely taken out here. So it looks like Exordium is going to be able to get another turn out of that Chemist. So definitely some interesting stuff going on right now. Character 6 really using the most out of that pressure release, kind of blocking people out of staying in Warwick's formation with that Sentinel stance up. Exordium using that Chemist to have Character 6 go yet again. If I wanted to bet right now, I think they're probably going to use another pressure release to have that whole column up in steam. So, which goes to show that Character 6 is still definitely powerful in these larger layouts. But yeah, it definitely dealing some damage as of right now. So Warwick's finally able to secure the KO on Exordium's Chemist. The Chemist giving Warwick's no shortage of troubles right now. However, Warwick's is able to start to move back with those characters, get them out of those columns, getting off some good combo damage on character 6, definitely. So it looks like character 6 is probably not going to survive for very long. Well, let's see what Exordium does right here. Character 6 is definitely going to be able to get off a couple of more turns. Looks like Exordium is going to use as much of their health right there, trading off, figuring that it's definitely worth it to try to knock out that Ranger. Have them down to 22 health, but we'll see what happens here. It depends on what Exordium's going to do. Are they going to try to move that? Are they going to try to move that totem? Are they going to try to deal some damage? It looks like they're going to move it. And also, let's see what they do in terms of what stance they choose, because they could try to do a little bit of defensive stuff. They're going to use that stun module to move Warwick's warrior back in the turn order. And if Warwick also doesn't move that Ranger is also going to be moved back in the turn order. So, Warwick has to basically decide, is it worth taking that turn order debuff in order to still be protected by the Warrior Sentinel stance. But we'll see what happens. Warwick does have a couple of turns coming up with that Ranger, so they're definitely probably going to be able to get some damage output at some point, but they're in a little bit of a tricky place. Getting some chip damage in on Exordium's warrior using a little bit of a quick shot, deciding not to try to focus down character 6. You're going to move into that front row. However, the Ranger is now a little bit vulnerable. However, Exordium isn't really able to deal any damage. Well, they are able to do a little bit of damage with character 6, but it's not going to be enough on that Ranger. So they're going to switch over to trying to chip away at Warwick's warrior as of right now. Let's see what Warwick does here. Both characters on Exordium's side at relatively low health, both at 20 health in fact now, which goes a little bit of a longer way on the warrior than it does on character 6, but this is shaping up to be a pretty close match. Exordium has a couple more rounds left. Warwick's deciding not to protect that Ranger anymore. Let's see what Exordium does here. Really using that support stance as much as they can. And it looks like whoever they're going to attack with that warrior is going to finish off one of those characters. We don't know which one that's going to be. However, that warrior is going to have to go into melee range in order to do so. The warrior will take some damage along the way. Is it going to be enough? I don't know, but it's definitely going to be some. So they're going to take 9 damage, so they're down to 16. They are going to be able to finish off that character 6 with that combo. Exordium's warrior does have the last one standing bonus as of right now, so odds are they will be able to take out whichever character that they target. But it's going to definitely be a very close match. All right, we have a Sentinel stance on Warwick's side. Going into a Ranger turn, so it looks like that Ranger is going to get some chip damage in, and Exordium sees the writing on the wall, and that is game over. However, very, very close. Warwick's edging out on that battle because they are able to finish, being able to get into the very late stages with still 2 characters up, able to take advantage of those combo attacks between the Warrior and the Ranger. So we are back into this tournament bracket, and it looks like Maliv was able to take another win on these best of 3 matches. So let's see who's in the fight right now. Looks like we're between matches as of right now. Just a reminder, these are best of 3, so you won't see anything updating on this bracket until someone takes the whole best of 3, which I'm looking at some stuff behind the scenes, and it looks like there have actually been 3 best of 3s today already, which is really exciting. That's not a huge surprise considering the level of skill that we have in the tournament today. 3 players here have been tournament champions. I believe Warwick and Exordium. And it's definitely been some exciting stuff. However, we see, I believe Alphen has been in a tournament before, and that definitely shows because they have definitely come away with at least 1 win so far here. And I believe Sly and Liam, you guys feel free to correct me, but these are I think these are new players. So if you haven't been in a tournament before, welcome both Liam and Sly. It's great to have you here. And just give us a shout after the tournament. Really interested in what you guys, how your experience was. We'll send out like a little form that you guys can fill out and tell us how things went and all that kind of stuff. And that stuff really helps. But if you feel like giving us a shout, feel free. So we've got 2 matches that are coming up right now. One between Liam and Alphen, and one between Warwick and Exordium, going into their second matches as of right now. So we're going to switch on over to Liam and Alphen because we just watched. I believe we watched. Trying to remember who we watched. That's okay. Warwick and Exordium. So we're gonna go over here into the fight. Oops. Here we go. All right. Let's get into this fight. All right. So we're seeing another one of those limited space layouts with having two rows right now. Leave going for a very familiar strategy here with the Berserker, the Warrior, and the Ranger, and Alphen going for a fairly similar situation. However, really using that Chemist as opposed to the Berserker for some more combo potential in terms of powering people up, getting off powerful attacks versus Believe's combo-based stuff, which is mostly assist skills and abilities between the Berserker's tunnel vision and the Ranger's support. We're seeing some interesting strategies here over on Maliev's side, though, switching over to a Sentinel stance on that Warrior. However, that Warrior is taking a ton of damage output from Alphen's Vigor and the support stance from that Ranger. So the Berserker does have a clear line to Alphen's Ranger as of right now, but are they going to focus that character down, especially since Alphen's Warrior is so low in health? And I say so low, even though the Warrior has easily 60% of their health, but that's a big deal this early on in the game, really trying to knock out those cornerstone characters in a player's lineup. Malieve trying to figure out what they want to do here. Their Warrior is definitely vulnerable as of right now, despite being having high defensive stats. So they're trying to figure out as much as they can do. And it looks like they're going to find the best of both worlds here by being able to try to protect that Warrior by putting the Berserker in front and using Berserker's tunnel vision to finish off Alphen's Warrior. So we're seeing Malieve make some difficult choices here, whether they want to try to support a character or if they want to use a more evasive stance. They're definitely going to choose to use that support. Let's see if this works. It all depends on if that Warrior can tank the damage from Alphen's Ranger. Now, there's a little bit of a trick that Alphen can do right now, but I'm not going to give anything away as of this point. But there is some trickery that they can do with some positioning. They are going to use that trap and then move into the front row there. So they're kind of setting up something later on. Perhaps setting up for late into the game so that the Ranger has less options for being in the front row, so they have less dodge. That could definitely be it. Or someone could just step onto the trap because they forget it's there. Sometimes that happens. Alphen going for that Vigor Potion on the Ranger, which is a decent strategy because the Ranger just can put out so much damage over a long period of time. Not so much burst damage, but over a long period of time, that stuff can definitely add up. Leave thinking about what they want to do here. They're starting to target Alphen's, their chemist, dealing a decent amount of damage. Maliv really, thankfully, is able to get off that focus ability. That was kind of a little bit hairy there for a second, because if they focused with that warrior and weren't able to use that, then that would have been essentially a wasted turn for the most part. Warrior definitely doing this job by taking a lot of damage, but really you want to get the most out of your characters as possible in these types of matches. It seems like Maliv is trying to split up that damage a little bit as much as they possibly can. Not exactly sure why we're doing that. Probably because they think that they are going to be able to get a combo off on Alphen's Chemist next round using their Berserker and Ranger. So that they basically secured the kill anyway. So we'll see what Alphen does right here. They're going to be able to finish off Maliv's warrior, thankfully for them. And they're going to go right back to an evasive stance. So it looks like the last character on Alphen's side will be that Ranger. Now let's see if Maliv decides to finish off that Chemist. Now there are a couple of strategies here. One being that you don't finish off the Chemist. And it looks like that's what they're going to do because that Ranger can definitely benefit from having that last one standing bonus. So it looks like what they're going to do is believe that she will definitely try to split up that damage a little bit so that a certain character, the Chemist, is going to get that last one standing bonus, which really only helps them. Oh, or they're not. They're just going to go after that Chemist because they think that that's definitely a threat. So they're going to do that, and they're going to leave up Alphen's Ranger as of right now. The Ranger not being as much of a threat because they can't get 2 turns in a row because Maliv still has 2 characters up. So being able to have 2 turns in a row with that Ranger at the end of the game allows them to use that first aid in order, that recovery patch, in order to not only gain health, but also get in a ton of damage over the next 2 turns. So they're going to try to chip away at that Berserker as much as possible, using that evasive stance as much as they can again. So yeah, let's see what happens here. Maliv definitely has the upper hand. We're not going to pretend that that's not what's going on. But did they put it away this round? They do. All right, no dodges from Alphen's Ranger, and Maliv is able to take that win. All right. So Maliv definitely has a strong showing so far in the tournament, having two wins in their first 2 matches, looking like they taking their first round in this best of 3 between them and Alphen. But there's still definitely plenty of matches left in this tournament today, so we'll see what happens coming up next. There is a match between a second match between Warwick and Exordium, and so we're gonna switch over to that now and catch up and see how they're doing with their matchup. Now I will say that coming into this, Warwick did take the first match here, so we're gonna see if Exordium can take that one back and get to a best of 3. So we're not seeing a mirror match here. It seems like the strategy has changed because the map has changed. So we have on Warwick's side using character 6 with the Berserker and the Warrior, and Exordium using character 6 and the Warrior, but also the Engineer. So let's see what happens and who gets targeted first, basically. Exordium definitely looking to use character 6 to influence the battle as much as possible. It looks like what they're trying to do here is potentially slow down Warwick's character 6 so that Exordium's character 6 can get off another round as soon as they possibly can, and that's what it looks like that's going to do. The only danger right now is from Warwick's Berserker, which they will be able to get off some damage onto, or not. It looks like Exordium is going for kind of a turbo strategy to try to get character 6, their combo off as fast as possible. And it looks like that's what they're going to do. So they're going to overload all their characters, which basically does damage to all of Warwick's characters and pushes them back in the turn order slightly. So Warwick's is going to be able to use that Berserker to soften the blow, but really not going for character 6 as of right now. So it looks like they're going to use some pressure release to really try to take out Exordium's Chemist as fast as possible. However, character 6 is going to be able to go again, and it looks like they're going to be using that Sun module to push Warwick's character 6 back in the turn order yet again. So Exordium is using that Warrior one more time to use that Sentinel stance. So it's basically forcing Warwick's to use that Warrior to focus down Exordium's Chemist. So it looks like Warwick's does have character 6. They're going to use that pressure release, dealing as much damage to the engineers, to that Chemist as possible. Exordium also using pressure release to seemingly finish off that Berserker very quickly. Now we have 2 characters that have been finished off on both sides, and we're down to a mirror match between Exordium and Warwick. Let's see what happens between these 2 different strategies for these players. It all depends on if someone goes for a more offensive style of combat or a more defensive style of combat. Exordium looking like they have the upper hand because of the focus on Exordium's Warrior as of right now. But anything can change as of this point. Looks like Exordium is onto character 6 once again. Are they going to use a pressure release? It looks like they're going to use a pressure release, definitely. So they're trying to get as much damage off of that character as possible. The thing is, right now, they're not able to use, neither player is able to really use that other stance as of right now to get some damage output from that totem, which is really integral to a lot of character 6's strategies. But it looks like Warwick does put themselves into potentially harm's way, but we'll see how that really shakes up. Using that Sentinel stance to do damage to character 6, or excuse me, to the Warrior, but this is another really close match, so it looks like it's going to be between character 6 and the Warrior. Using that pressure release to secure the kill on Warwick's character 6, using pressure release once again to start that combo once again, and that's it. That's over. That slash was not enough because of Exordium's Sentinel stance. So a very close match. Really, it's always interesting seeing those mirror matches going into the end of the game, because one person could have one strategy and the other person could have another, and then you see how those match up. So yeah, it's kind of crazy sometimes. So it looks like Maliv was able to take away another win. So they're pulling ahead in the rankings as of right now. Excellent right now. They're doing really well. So hopefully someone can come in and shake things up a little bit. But Maliv being tournament champion, I believe, last tournament, a relatively new contender in these tournaments, but still strong. So let's see what some other players can do here. All right. See what's going on behind the scenes. I believe going back to Maliv, we are going to go over to a battle between Maliv and and Sly, and we're actually just going to spectate that. I'm going to take a little bit of a break right now, and going to get some water. I've been talking for about 2 hours straight. But I'll leave this on for you guys to watch, and I'll be back in a few minutes. All right, see you guys in a sec. All right. I can't believe I missed that match. But hey, it happens. I need to take a little bit of a break. My throat's a little bit off. But Maliv taking a loss to Sly, which is a huge upset as of right now. Really getting them into a bad situation of having the warrior as one of their last characters when going up against an engineer, who using levitate can't be targeted by can't be targeted by the warrior. So that's just an example of really figuring out who you need to focus down first. And if you don't want to get yourself into a bad 1v1 situation, basically. And that's what happened to Maliv during this match. So let's see what happens when they go into their follow-up match against Sly. And you know, I'm excited to see what they do. And Sly using some very solid strategies so far. Really exciting. So let's see what matches are going on right now. We have a match between Liam and Alphen. This is their second match. Liam taking the first win here. But we're going to see what happens. All right. Switch on over. All right. We have a match between Liam and Alphen in the two-column formation here. Both sides using a berserker. However, that's where the similarities stop. Liam using a combination of the ranger and the chemist, Alphen using the warrior and the engineer. So let's see what their opening strategies are going to be. Alphen, surprisingly enough, using that their stance that allows them to retaliate against attacks being used in their row. Normally, when we see the engineer being used, they're usually protected as much as possible, but it looks like they're going to be knocked out. Yeah, that's right. All right, so unfortunately, Alphen's engineer is knocked out very early in the round. It could have made a huge difference during this fight, but they left themselves wide open as of right now, not using that levitate stance, allowing that berserker to get in and do a ton of damage. So a lot of damage being thrown back and forth here. But Liam does have a ranger, which allows them to use some ranged attacks, so they're not going to be as effective by Alphen's character's stances, which both revolve around those melee style attacks. All right, we see Alphen trying to do as much as they can here, really punishing that berserker for getting off attacks, getting them down to 3 health, but it's still definitely worth it because Liam still has an advantage on their side. Alphen getting up a lot of damage with that focus ability, not securing the kill against Liam's berserker, which is unfortunately going to allow them to get off one more round with that berserker. Unfortunately, it looks like they're going to be, taken away at this point anyway, because both of those stances require melee. So despite Alphen's engineer being knocked out very early in this match, Liam's having a hard time, securing that win as of right now. So who knows what could happen? Liam has a very good synergistic combo right here, but Alphen's warrior is very strong. So let's see what happens. If Alphen is able to take out Liam's ranger, they're in a good spot, and they are in a good spot. However, 2 health is really tricky for the warrior because they don't really have a lot of slow attacks. They just have their basic attack, and that does 10. So they're going to have to take another turn in order to take out this ranger, regardless. Like, it's guaranteed that they're going to have to do that. So Liam going for an offensive strategy because they understand that they're going to eventually have to take out that warrior, but not this round. So Liam surviving with that ranger one more time, able to get off 8 extra damage with that quick shot. The chemist is up next. They're going to focus up. It looks like they're going to use another one of those flame flasks on the warrior as soon as they possibly can. The warrior's in a tricky spot right now, really trying to get rid of that ranger, giving them a ton of trouble, and they're dodge again. So Alphen really not their luck is not that great right now. So Ranger's gonna get off another quick shot, trying to chip away at that warrior. And Liam looks like they're gonna be able to take it away between the flame flask and another quick shot. So, yep, and we see that flame flask, and through that damage, they're probably just gonna get hit again. And that's it. That's the game. Quick match. Very exciting. You know, at first glance, it looked like Alphen was completely out of it, and then again in the mid game, they brought it back against Liam and did a ton of damage. They weren't able to secure the knockout on Liam's Ranger, unfortunately. If they were, I think this match would have been a lot closer. However, that's just what happens. Maybe if they focused a little bit more on doing some extra chip damage against the Ranger, things could have been differently. But you know, that's what happens. This is what definitely happens. So, let's see who's in another match. Let's keep it going. Let's keep this rolling. All right, who's here? There's still a match going on between Warwick and Exordium. However, that match has been going on for a while, so that looks like it's going to be winding down pretty soon. Really exciting to see who pulls out a win there, considering that's a best of 3 match. But I believe a match had just started between Liam and Sly, so we're just going to hop back in there. All right. So, another wide open battlefield right now. Any players could do whatever they want, basically, with lining up their characters. We see Liam with a very similar strategy yet again. Very flexible in the way that it can do damage and what it can play against. Sly using that engineer once again, really trying to figure out how to finish everything off right here again. So let's see if Liam decides to try to finish off that engineer quickly. It looks like they're not going to. It looks like they're going to try to continue doing damage to that warrior. But, you know, maybe they have some a trick up their sleeves as of right now. They do have a Berserker, which can output a ton of damage. So, but it looks like Liam's Ranger is in some serious trouble right now. If Sly can finish them off with their Ranger, that's a problem. However, we're seeing a pretty decent combo right here. Unfortunately, Liam's Berserker does not have their tunnel vision active, so they're gonna pay the price for that. However, they're gonna try to get off some damage with that Berserker onto that engineer, using trade blows to do a huge amount of damage. So it looks like as long as that Berserker survives these rounds, it looks like they're going to be able to also finish off that engineer regardless, especially this early. So Liam has 1 health. That is absolutely bonkers, having only that much left, basically forcing Sly to choose between securing that last damage or going after the Berserker, which poses a huge threat. Liam was able to finish off that engineer, so they won't have the same problem as they did last match. Some very quick stuff happening here. These players know what they need to do, and we're blazing through this match. So let's see if Sly tries to finish off that other Ranger. If they don't, Liam will get another turn with the Ranger, and that Ranger will be able to finish off Sly's Warrior. Okay, so Sly was able to pick off Liam's Ranger, but is that going to be enough? The Berserker is up next, so odds are they are going to take out Sly's Warrior. But who knows? Maybe they are going for a strategy that relies on none of Sly's characters getting that last one standing bonus. Taking a little bit of time to think about this. They could be trying to figure out if trade blows is a solid idea, and they are going to use trade blows as of right now. Warrior taking some damage, but getting in some guaranteed damage on that Ranger while the Berserker is still kicking. So And that's what you got to do against the ranger sometimes. The ranger's evasive stance is very effective at mitigating damage, especially over a long period of time. And they do have that long period of time because they have a lot of health, so they're able to, you know, that effectively adds up to a 35% damage resistance. You know, if everything comes out average, but sometimes it doesn't. That's just how it works. So they are going to delay their turn, excuse me, until after the warrior. The warrior's in kind of a tough spot right now because no matter what they do, they're not going to be able to do much damage without first getting knocked out by that warrior's sentinel stance. They are able to use Inspire to enable that ranger to use a focus ability. Now, it could be defensive, it could be offensive. We have that explosive shot. However, they're gonna go for the more defensive field kit right here to get a little bit of health back and some additional damage for the next couple of rounds with that character. So they're basically banking on them getting the last one standing bonus. Now, it all depends on what Maleev does here. Does Maleev want to try to continue to focus down that ranger while it still doesn't have that 40% attack bonus, or do they just want to, you know, secure that damage, do what they need to do? But that warrior sentinel stance does, pose a huge threat. So, it all depends on what they think is worth doing. So they are going to take that 9 damage and give Sly's ranger that last one standing bonus. However, it cuts down on that chip damage from that sentinel stance. So the berserker is up next. The berserker's in kind of a tough situation because at this point it doesn't necessarily look like they can survive a trade blow, so it looks like they're gonna have to do this the old-fashioned way. And they do get a dodge from that bash, unfortunately, but there's plenty of opportunities right now to do a little bit more damage. So it looks like Sly probably should try to focus down the berserker. They might be able to do enough damage right here to just finish it off. Who knows? But it's a tough decision. It's definitely tough because if they finish off that berserker, the warrior gets the 40% attack boost as well. Instead, what they're going to do is they're going to try to focus up. So they might be able to do some AoE damage, or they might just be going for a super long-term strategy of using that field kit as much as possible. Warrior getting in 10 damage. Every bit of damage helps here. So as much as they can do, that's basically what they're gonna have to do. So it might seem interesting that Maleev did use that sentinel stance instead of using a more defensive stance. However, what they're doing is the sentinel stance does have another effect, and that is on your next attack, whether that's from that stance being triggered, or if it's on your next turn, your next attack will do 5 extra damage. Now, if Sly does take out that berserker, the warrior will have that last one standing bonus. So not only will they have that extra 5 damage bonus, they'll have that plus 40% damage. So that's going to add up really quickly. I mean, obviously the warrior does need to connect on these next attacks, but that's just what they're going to have to work with. And it does connect. The ranger is down to 9 health. So basically at this point, unless they heal up, which is probably what they're going to do, the warrior can just finish them off immediately. So Sly is probably going to go for another field kit, get that bonus damage, get that little bit of health, try to survive the warrior's next attacks. Ranger does have a speed advantage on that warrior, so we're going to see a lot more turns coming out of Sly right here. Being able to chip away at that warrior, being to consistently do 11 damage every single turn, but it's still going to take 4 rounds to take out the warrior. So unless we see a certain combo come out, basically. So Maleev's warrior, since they connected on that last attack, they do not have to use their Sentinel stance in order to get that bonus damage anymore. No matter what, they need one more attack to connect. So basically what's going to happen here is Maliv has one more round, and then Sly has two rounds. So what they can do a couple of things here. And I see a dodge from Sly. So Sly has 2 rounds available to them. They're able to do like 11 damage, I believe, per quick shot. But if they're only going to do that quick shot, it's still going to take them 3 rounds total to knock out Maliv's warrior. So whatever happens here, regardless, is going to be very, very close. So let's see what Sly does. They do another quick shot. It's going to do 9 damage instead. I believe the 11 damage was because of the Sentinel stance. Unless that basic attack does have some RNG. And we're just going to take a peek at that right now. So it looks like it does 7 to 8 damage or 9 to 11 damage if the target is in the frontmost character in their row. So there is a little bit of a damage range on that ability. So it's not guaranteed. Regardless, it's one attack from either of these characters, and it looks like Maliv will be able to finally connect and hit that Ranger. Awesome match. Absolutely spectacular. Very close. Just so close by the end of the both valid strategies. And we can see that, you know, both players knew what they were doing. Just sometimes when it gets that close, sometimes it comes down to RNG, but that means that these players are at very similar playing levels. So yeah, that's absolutely incredible. So it looks like that might have been Maliv's first loss today. But we'll wait for things to reset here in a second to see if it was. All right, so it's we're gonna wait until Maliv and Sly's next match. We're gonna wait on that since this is a best of 3 and they both won 1. So who knows? Anything could happen at this point. That was a very close match. Maliv just barely pulling out that win to stay in that match. But really, it's anybody's game at this point. It all depends on, you know, what people are gonna decide to do. I'm gonna drop into the Discord real quick and see how things are going on here. It looks like another round of battles are just about ready to go. All right. Just we're gonna wait a second until Maliv and Sly are done picking their characters. Then we're gonna hop right in. All right, and it looks like they've already started. So let's get in there. Alrighty. We're seeing another limited battlefield layout here with having 2 rows this time. Maliv taking advantage of that with their Berserker, and Sly taking advantage of that with their strategy of choice, which is Character 6, the Engineer, and the Ranger. Really huge combo potential. We'll see what happens though. Maliv definitely having the tankier strategy, and Sly definitely having a more upfront damage combo producing strategy. So it depends on if Sly's characters can survive long enough in order to get off those combos as fast as they possibly can. Let's see what happens. I'm very interested which character Sly is going to choose here. They can either choose to pull the Berserker or the Ranger at this point. Berserker having a little bit more health, so they can probably survive that a little bit better. However, they do have that support attack from the Ranger, getting down that Berserker to very low health as of right now. So the Berserker is not going to be able to get off too many attacks as of right now. It does look like the Berserker does have their tunnel vision active, so if Maliv does want to get off some damage, it looks like they're going to have to focus that character 6 as of right now to use the Warrior's basic attack, their slash, to help the Berserker get off a little bit of extra damage. And it looks like that's exactly what they're going to do. 10 damage from the slash, another 12 damage from that tunnel vision, and an additional 9 damage from the Ranger's support. So getting off a lot of damage on that character 6 very early. It looks like Maliv will also be able to use their Berserker. I'm taking a little peek at the turn order here. Are we going to see another trade blows in order to get out enough damage against that character 6? They're not. They're actually going to go for an interesting strategy of trying to knock out that engineer as much as possible, because it did give Maliv some trouble earlier on in this matchup. So they're looking to kind of spread their damage around a little bit, and it looks like Sly looks like they're going to be able to finish off Maliv's Berserker. That's what it looks like as of right now. However, Sly's character 6 and their engineer are very, very, very low health. Can easily be taken out with a combo between the Warrior and the Ranger, or just the Ranger themselves. They are going to secure that knockout on the Berserker. So that's just what they're going to do. So it takes down Maliv to 2 characters as of right now. Sly's Ranger is up next. At full health, and they've got some options for who they're going to target here. If I were them, I have my opinion, but I'm gonna see what they do. Maliv's Ranger does pose the biggest threat as of right now, because their Berserker is going to be knocked out. So if Maliv doesn't do something about that engineer, they're in some trouble. However, and we will. This is very important. In order for that engineer to levitate like that, they need to take damage every single round that they use that levitate. So eventually, that's going to start to add up, and especially with a character this low in health, it's gonna come sooner rather than later. So every time that the engineer uses their levitate stance, they take 1 additional damage than they did the round before that they used levitate. So the first time they use it, they take 1 damage after the stance is over. Next time they do it, they take 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and so on. So there's not a lot of uses left in that levitate stance on Sly's side. So if Maliv wanted to be a little bit tricky here, they could immediately start trying to target another target at this point and spread out that damage, because that engineer doesn't have much. They don't have many rounds left of being able to levitate, so they might just the problem might solve itself at some point. But then again, you run the risk of that character just staying at low health, and if no one does damage to them, then they'll just survive, and they don't have to use that levitate. So it all depends on what each player does, what strategies they're going to use. What resources they think is more important, that they think are important at different points in time. So Sly does use a pressure release here and get off a little extra chip damage on Maliv's Ranger. Excuse my coffee drinking. So Sly is going to be able to get off one more attack here with, excuse me, with that engineer. They will not be able to use levitate again, or they'll, you know, their character will just be done at that point. So they're gonna have to use that other stance. Sly being a relatively new player, you know, they might not realize that they will take that much damage, but if they see that, exactly, and they do see that, so they understand that that character will have been done basically if they use that levitate stance. So they're gonna see what they can do in order to try to keep their characters alive. Now, Maliv does have their warrior up at a relatively decent amount of health. Let's see what character they want to finish off. So they do finish off character 6. However, that engineer is able to fire back the warrior a little bit to do some extra 5 damage. And at this point, every little bit of damage helps. Sly with a very high health ranger right now. Trying to figure out what they want to do. Who to target. They know that the berserker is done. And they know that it's so... Exactly. I was going to say, the only logical target as of right now is that ranger. So it looks like the ranger will probably take critical damage when they start their turn from that pressure release. Same thing as the berserker. So leaves down to one character as of right now. They do have that last one standing bonus, but it's a little tough. It's definitely going to be tough for them to basically chew through Sly's 40 health ranger at this point, especially since they're down to 16 health. That's only a couple of attacks, and this is probably it, guys. You know, Sly is going to be able to use either, you know, the arm hook or the defense break. They're going to use defense break with an assist, and Sly pulls it off, and this is Maliv's first loss today. From out of nowhere, Sly comes in and you know, causes Maliv to take the fall and just you know, not have a perfect record today. And I say that not perfect may not sound impressive, especially since they've won so many matches so far, but that is still impressive on Sly's side in order to do that. First ever tournament loss from Maliv. I'm not 100% sure. This might be. Yeah. I'll take that as a yes, maybe. Just read through chat, and all I see is the skull from Maliv, so that might have been their first loss in a tournament. I think they're a little far away from losing this tournament as a whole, but that was definitely their first loss here. All right, so we have the tournament status as of right now. Maliv is still in first place with 3 wins out of 4 matches played. They have one more match that they're going to have to do, I believe. Yes, they have one more match eventually against Exordium. And we'll see how that goes. Exordium being the tournament champion actually from 2 patches ago. And then Exordium was unfortunately not able to make it to the last tournament, which left that tournament wide open for a new champion potentially. And Maliv came in and did take that. So when that match comes up, Maliv's last match, that is going to be an interesting battle. The last 2 tournament champions. So as of right now, we have a couple matches going on, one between Warwick and Alphen and one between Liam and Exordium. So we're going to just chill for a second and see what these guys do. Just checking up on how a couple people are doing right now. Gonna check and see what's going on. Let's just check the tournament stream. Our quality is a little bit low, unfortunately. So we're gonna figure some stuff out. All right. How's everyone doing still? Still chilling? Relaxing on a Saturday afternoon. Tournament is, probably about like 2/3 of the way done. We're almost there. We have about 5 more full matches. Some exciting stuff still coming up. If Warwick and Sly, if they get another win, then things might be a little bit closer than they first appear. Malieve definitely the favorite right now, but losing to Sly definitely puts them back a little bit. So let's see what happens. Yeah. So I am going to start up a match between Liam and Exordium, and I'll have you guys spectate that. I'll be right back. All right, we are back to a very quick match. I cannot believe how quick this match actually went. Oh my goodness. Absolute brawl between Exordium and Liam as of right now. we're just going to watch through the rest of this battle, and then we're actually going to have a little chat with Maliv pretty soon. All right, and very very quick match. Exordium taking one win from Liam. So we're actually going to take a little bit of a break here. I'm gonna be on the camera, breaking some things behind the scenes as of right now, and we're actually going to yeah, let's have a chat with Believe right now. How about that? Gonna hop into this chat. Hello. I wonder if Maliv can hear me right now. Hopefully they can. Maliv is on mute right now, so we'll see if they pop in at some point. Well, they need to be right back, but we're going to start spectating the match in the meantime. And we'll have some like commentary from color commentary from Maliv at some point. So
Hello.
let's see who's. Oh, there we go. Very quick. How's it going?
Well, I lost one match, so
that is true.
Well, this is the worst tournament. I'm so embarrassed. I'm gonna go cry in like 7 different corners right now.
I mean, this being the worst tournament, that's a really easy thing to do since you were undefeated last tournament.
I mean, it was only one tournament.
Still, you did go undefeated though, so which is very, very impressive.
It was very surprising on my end too. Yeah, no, I think I was talking about that setup at the end of last time, and it's a good setup, and coupled up with the fact the small grids, like
yep,
number 6 is just like I could make an argument that like normally how like my team comp is designed in a way where everyone kind of complements each other, so it's like 1.5. Number 6 on his own is like 2 people in that match because it's so tight knit, and he just gets to put like a totem, and it's like, oh, I literally do not have enough space to not be in the totem. I have to choose someone to stand in the totem now.
Yeah, especially if you can target the berserker with a totem. They just don't have any elemental resistance, so they really take a ton of damage every single round from that totem. So it gets to be a little bit difficult sometimes when your opponent has character 6, and thankfully character 6 is a little bit squishier than some characters. Sometimes, definitely sometimes, but in the hands of the right person using the right stances with that character 6 is not as squishy as some people might think. So and this is basically what we thought we were gonna see when we made these changes. Last patch, we made some changes to kind of beef up character 6's sustainability in the first part of the battle. We didn't see much character 6 in the last patch, in the last patch's tournament, unfortunately. So they were kind of like sitting on this huge boost, this huge buff, which is now only being realized in these kind of close quarters layouts. So
yes.
We're really seeing their potential explode at this point. So that's kind of what we're seeing right now, which is really awesome.
Yeah, number 6 got a huge flex opportunity with just like flexing all over the place.
Pretty much, yes. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting seeing what the people's feedback are. I personally don't think 6 is too overpowered, especially considering their win-loss ratio at this point. As the tournament goes on, or once we get to another tournament, we're going to see if that kind of sustains into, for a long-term thing. And then we might have to dial things back. But, it's definitely nice seeing people use the full range of character 6, who we need to find another another code word for that character at that point, because there's going to be a 7 coming soon. So 6 and 7 are probably not the best code words for these characters.
You could call them totem for now.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was thinking, but we'll have to run that by the crew and see how that's gonna work. I'm actually gonna load up a battle between Warwick and Alphen right now. So I'm gonna switch over to a spectating mode pretty soon. As soon as I figure out how to do that. Here we go. All right.
I'm following up right behind you, and it looks like we do see 2 piece or character 6s available right now. We've got those back walls closed off. We've got on Alphen's side, we've got that hard crowd control set up. And then on the other side, we've got Berserker, Warrior, and character 6 lined up and ready. So definitely some good setups here.
Yeah, definitely. And it's been interesting seeing both players at the beginning of the game. They've been noting to put multiple characters in that center row so that character 6 cannot place their totem in the dead center of the battlefield, because that allows them to get off a huge AoE attack with their focus ability. But depending on what you want to do, sometimes that's not even the most effective thing against certain team compositions. So we're seeing definitely stuff going on right now on Alphen's side with that engineer ranger combo in these close quarters, really doing a lot of damage to the Berserker. But Warwick's definitely using that more, their combos with the Berserker and the Warrior, being able to deal a lot of damage to character 6. So character 6 might be gone right now.
Character 6 might be gone, but we still have the totem. Totem holds its effect throughout the rest of the match. So even with character 6 gone, he's still there essentially, still doing stuff, making some good work. And it looks like we've got a nice setup for that Steam Cloud as well. We're gonna have a quick burst of damage and a quick trade for that Berserker, just barely making it through. I wonder what this trap setup is going to be with the Steam Cloud.
I have no idea. I mean, that Steam Cloud's going to be there for a while. So basically, yeah, even if character 6 goes down on Alphen's side, that's those are 2 tiles that are pretty much inaccessible for the rest of the fight. So we'll see what happens. Warwick definitely has their character 6 coming up next. So they'll probably be able to either finish off Alphen's 6 with their character 6 or with the Berserker. Or, they have a lot of options.
Mm-hmm. Another thing that I could potentially see with that Steam Cloud right now, we might be seeing a trap into one of those hooks with
that's very good. Yeah.
Engineer combo, and that could just pull the Warrior in. That said, as soon as they do that, the Warrior's turn comes up and he gets to move out immediately. So they might be looking. I don't see a good time for them to. Oh, never mind. Now that would be a good time because of that.
Yeah, we'll see who they start focusing down. They might be able to. Yeah, they're not finishing off the Berserker because the Berserker, 5 health, whatever. It doesn't really matter because they have their turn is not going to come up for a few more rounds. So it's going to take a while for the Berserker to be effective. In any case.
Yeah, this trap is clearly set up for the Warrior. As soon as that Engineer has his turn, he's just going to be able to yank him over, and that's going to be a huge burst of damage. And we're probably going to see that Steam Cloud just burn through a lot of the Warrior's health.
Yeah, definitely, because the Warrior doesn't really have an option right now unless Warwick moves their character 6 into the front row, basically allowing that Warrior to move back. Now, that does mean that character 6 can be pulled into that trap, and the combination of all that damage, it's going to be pretty bad. So we'll see what happens. So opting not to move that character 6.
Actually, I just realized if the Berserker had their turn a little bit earlier, they could go for their attack and just sacrifice the Berserker there, considering their chances are high that they're going to get killed off at any point anyways.
Definitely.
That would destroy a heavy trap setup. We're not going to be able to see that, of course, because Engineer is coming up right now. Gunner very low on health. I don't think they can definitely not take much more. Finally kill the Berserker right there and setting up for some solid defensive. And it is finally going to be the NG's turn. We are definitely seeing that grip come in. No return fire setup, so they're not looking for additional damage on top. Definitely more prolonging the Gunner's life. Probably a good call right here considering how low on health.
Definitely. And you know, we're seeing the fruits of their labor there. And once the warrior comes back around for their next turn, they're going to take some damage from that steam cloud. So really looking like Alphen's trying to get rid of that warrior as soon as possible, because it does take a while for them to chip that character down. Their ranger not having that much health, but having that evasive stance active helps them evade a lot of damage. They are going to survive the steam cloud that they're in, but that's pretty much the only source of damage that they're going to be able to survive. So after this, it's basically down to that dodge percent chance. They are going to focus up, which means that they are betting that they're going to survive the next couple of rounds.
Gamble.
Oh, yes, it is. If it were me, I would definitely try to cash in on that quick shot, and that would be it. But they're looking to dodge stuff, and they do dodge that, but they are going to take some damage from that pressure release at the start of their turn. So maybe a miscalculation. I'm not sure, but it definitely looks like it from my end.
Yeah, definitely was not anticipating a third steam cloud to come down. That thing is going to be guaranteed to connect for 8 damage. That gunner's gone. So now we're probably going to see Warwick start to try to focus on the engineer. That said, levitation is going to allow them to stall for a very long time, considering I don't think either of these two on the left-hand side have any way... Oh, wait, no, we do have the fire lance. So we're probably going to be... Yeah. Oh, wait, no. No, that's on.
So we have the pressure release on character 6, which at the start of the turn, the engineer does touch down onto the ground, so they will take damage from that at the start of their turn. So that's what, like 8 damage, 10 damage. And then once the character 6 also is able to use their overload, which will also be able to deal damage to that engineer. So Warwick definitely has options at this point, but those options don't include the warrior. So what we're probably going to see from Warwick's at some point is once they get down to one last character on Alphen's side, probably their best bet is going to be using that Inspire to get as many system overloads from character 6 as they possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that seems like the best idea, especially since it lowers speed, makes them...
Yep.
It's a really good setup and just a lot of solid damage, and will allow for this pressure train to continue rolling.
Yes. So character 6 is up. We'll see what they do. We might just have a pressure release. We might see some focus here. Probably not focus, but I'm assuming it's got to be pressure release. I can't see them moving that totem. It's in a perfect spot for the rest of the game.
They don't have focus right now. I ended up giving it to their warrior, which I'm not sure we're going to be seeing that get used for the rest of this match, so it might have just been a lost turn there.
Yeah, perhaps. So we do see a pressure release that does 5 damage immediately, and then we're going to see some additional damage once the engineer starts their turn. However, character 6 will have, regardless, character 6 is going to have another turn before that engineer is able to go. So we might see the warrior focusing them up, and we do see that, and so we should be seeing a system overload. Gonna see some good damage, gonna see some turns hopefully push back, but you never know.
And here comes the total system overload. There is no way it's not happening. That's just gonna be...
they're waiting. They're taking their time. They're taking their time, so that it's pretty much guaranteed that this engineer is slowly going to be bled out with all of these steam clouds. They've been consistently using those pressure releases throughout the game to really limit their options. Now, Warwick was able to strategize in order to get his characters lined up behind them each other, so that that fire lance can only hit the front character in each one of those rows. So is that going to make the difference between a win and a loss here? I'm not sure, but it was definitely just a solid decision all around.
Tell me a little bit more about these steam clouds, because we had 4 on the field, and it looks like they just kind of all last. So if you really focused on, is it possible to even especially in a smaller field like this, is it possible just to have 6 steam clouds out in the present?
It's definitely possible, but the only issue with that is that's all you're doing with character 6, who has a lot of other utility type stuff in their toolkit. So if that's what you want to do, that's great. But basically some characters, or excuse me, some team compositions don't care too much about that Steam Cloud, especially compositions that have higher elemental defense, or they just have higher health in general. They should be able to just fight through it. However, there is something that's going on right here, as you can see, and as Jason just put into the chat, those Steam Clouds only last for 10 turns. Now, it's a very long time, but eventually they will dissipate, so they're not absolutely permanent. And we just saw something that we were I thought we were gonna see from Warwick. So there were no skills available for that warrior to use, since everyone already has focus, and they can't use their melee abilities on Alphen's engineer. So it looks like this is just about the end for Alphen. And Alphen has very limited options for moving, since both their other characters are knocked out and they cannot be on those spaces. So they basically have to stay on one of these Steam Clouds, and that's about it.
Yeah, this is definitely game here. The Steam Cloud is not going to kill on its own because of that high elemental defense, but a single tap from either of these two characters, or coupled up with the levitation, that seals it. Like, Works doesn't even have to make a move now. The levitation Steam Cloud combo is just going to be enough to be able to burn them out.
Yep, and so we'll see what happens here. We're going to have another turn. The warrior is not really going to be able to do too much. He just kind of wants to have character 6 finish it off. Let's see if he finishes it off with a big explosion, or if he just puts him into... There we go. That's what we wanted to see with the system overload. So we have another win from Warwick's right here, and we're going to see how that works. So as of right now, it looks like Warwick's is coming back. So you might have a little bit of... you might have a big fight ahead of you to try to secure your lead, Maliv.
Oh no, the other person who's just had constant, who's just genuinely seen as unbeatable, is currently contending for me. I'm so upset.
So you have one more fight here, I believe.
I do.
Yes, you do. You have, I believe it is up against... Who is it up against?
Exordium.
You're up against Exordium. So I will let you get onto that battle, but it was awesome having you on. You know, if you end up finishing up those matches, definitely, you know, you could drop me a line, and then we'll have you back on for some of the last stuff. But good luck in your upcoming match.
Thank you very much. Ciao.
Later. All right, so who are we gonna spectate? Do we want to spectate that match? We might. Let's see who's up right now. So right now we have two matches that are ready to go. One between Alphen and Sly, and another one between Exordium and Maliv. Now Exordium, you know, they were tournament champion a couple of tournaments ago, having a little bit of difficulty here, but it looks like they're gonna start taking some wins back. Definitely still dangerous in this tournament. So that being said, it looks like the battle between Exordium and Maliv is about to start. They are now selecting their formation and character loadout, and we'll get right to that battle once they start the fight proper. So we have 4 total matches left today. The 2 that I just mentioned, and we also have one between Liam and Warwick's, and one between Exordium and Sly. So Warwick's might be able to get another win here. Who knows? Exordium and Sly, definitely, they have some additional, you know, Sly is going to be able to get another win in there, have a nice battle for second place. That's definitely possible. Liam left. I'm looking right now. That might be a win. Why don't you check in, Warwick's? Why don't you check in with Jason and see how that's gonna work out for you? Considering how this is gonna work, I don't I don't think it's an auto win for you for the entire tournament. It depends on if Malieve beats Exordium right now. So Malieve still has one more battle left. So right now, I believe you are 4 wins out of 5, and Malieve is 3 wins out of 4. So if she wins, then she will also be 4 wins out of 5. So you two will be tied, and then we'll have, we can have like a face-off after that, if you two would like to fight for first and second place. But yeah, definitely check in with Jason to see how we want to handle this kind of stuff, and then we'll go from there. That being said, we are going to pop into that battle between Exordium and Malieve. All right, let's get into it. Exordium has that character 6 combo with the Engineer and the Ranger. Very a light team in terms of health and defense, but a lot of potential in terms of their damage output. Malieve is using a favorite right now, which is the Warrior, Berserker, and Ranger all supporting each other, and the Warrior kind of blocking out those melee style attacks with that Sentinel stance. Luckily enough for Exordium, they don't have much in the way of melee, so that's going to be less of a problem than Malieve was hoping. So between the Berserker's Intimidate and the Warrior's Sentinel stance, both of those not as effective as one would hope. So let's see what happens with Exordium over these next few turns. Now it looks like Exordium is going to try to attempt to finish off that Berserker, and it looks like they are going to be able to do that before the Berserker can take their first round. However, Malieve is getting off a lot of combo damage against Exordium's Ranger, so we might see 2 early knockouts in this fight. The first knockout has been secured by Exordium. Let's see what target they switch to next. It looks like they're going to switch over to the Ranger as fast as they possibly can. Exordium's Ranger is now up. It looks like they're going to try to get as much chip damage as possible before Malieve's Ranger can switch their stance to a more defensive, evasive style stance. Luckily enough for Exordium, their Ranger did get a dodge off on that. Absolutely key in this matchup. It allows them to get off 1 more attack, and potentially more, depending on how these things are going to line up. So Exordium's character 6 is going to go. They are going to use that shock module to start getting in some chip damage, using that adrenaline boost to have character 6 go yet again, and then let's see what happens here. You're going to use that pressure release and follow it up with the shock module, chipping away at Malieve's Ranger. Malieve's Ranger is done. So Exordium is be able to secure 2 knockouts before Malieve can get 1. Malieve getting that last knockout. Malieve has conceded already. So it looks like we found a counter to Malieve's strategy right now, basically revolving around character 6 knocking out the Berserker as fast as possible, and using that Engineer to get in extra turns so he can lay down some more pressure release attacks. Very quick match. Pretty decisive as of right now, but we'll see what Malieve can do, and if they are able to come back from that, we'll see what Exordium can do. But as of right now, pretty decisive. We're going to switch over to a match between Alphen and Sly, and we'll see how these two are doing. All right. And I think this is the first time that I've seen both players use the Engineer against each other. Alphen using the Engineer with the Ranger and the Warrior. Sly using the Engineer with character 6 and the Ranger. So the big difference here is character 6 versus Warrior in these loadouts. Character 6 looking to slow down, Sly looking to slow down Alphen's characters by setting out those stun modules, and is successfully able to knock back both the Warrior and the Ranger in their turns Unfortunately, the Ranger is fast enough so that it doesn't make as much of a difference. However, it is relatively impactful here. Both teams setting up traps as of right now. It looks like Alphen is going to be able to get out their arm hook before Sly can, doing a massive amount of damage between the damage from the arm hook, the trap that was already set up, and the assist damage from the Ranger. Now Sly is able to get off their combo, so they're going to do an arm hook, which is very effective against Alphen's Engineer, and putting them down to 5 health. That little extra chip damage there from the Engineer definitely helps out, bringing Sly's Ranger down to 7 health. Now, unless Sly can do something right here, it looks like Alphen is going to be able to use that Warrior to knock out that Ranger, and they do, but not before taking a little extra chip damage from the Engineer's stance here. And I just noticed my mouse cursor was on the screen the whole time. Let me know if I do that, because that's not fun for anybody. Anyway, seeing a lot of combos happening right here. Alphen trying to get off that quick shot, but still taking some damage from that chip damage from the Engineer. Engineer is still using that arm hook to pull the Warrior back in to character 6's pressure release, trying to get in some extra chip damage there. I'm not sure that was 100% worth it from Sly's side, because it puts character 6 in the danger zone for taking damage from both the Warrior and the Ranger. So character 6 is out as of right now. However, that chip damage is starting to get a little bit more dangerous from Sly's Engineer with their last one standing bonus. Unfortunately, that Engineer is relatively slow, so we're not going to be able to see them do much. So it looks like, unless something crazy happens, Alphen will be able to get off a lot of combos using the Ranger's assist off on that character. That being said, the Engineer is definitely able to use range attacks to not get in harm's way from that Warrior, but we'll see who they start to focus down. My bet's on the Warrior since it's a little bit lower. Pulling that Warrior into the pressure release, is this going to be enough damage? It might be. The Warrior starts their turn, they're going to take some damage, so let's see what happens here. They take enough damage, and then the Ranger does have the last one standing bonus. However, Sly's Engineer is in a very tight place because, unfortunately, the amount of damage coming out from the Ranger is absolutely massive, and the Ranger does have 2 turns after this. So despite the Ranger only having 16 health, which is normally, 1 or 2 turns off of lethal, Sly is down to 3 health. And unfortunately for them, whatever the Ranger does next turn that's going to be it. They're going to shake out as much as they can, and it's surprisingly a ton of damage onto that Ranger, down to 4 health. So this has been an incredibly tight match. Absolutely incredible. But it looks like Alphen is going to be able to take this one away with a nice quick shot, and that's it. That's the fight. So we are back here. We're just going to check the standings really quick on the back end to see how people are doing. So it looks like we have 3 more matches total right now. The current one between Alphen and Sly, the one currently between Exordium and Malieve, and then another one between Exordium and Sly. So Exordium has plenty of chances to get some extra wins up on the board before this tournament is over. But unless Malieve can get this one last win unless Malieve can get this one last win from Exordium, it looks like Warwick will take the tournament. So let's see. We'll have a champ return and take that title once again. So let's get into that second fight between Exordium and Malieve and see how that's rolling. All right, we have a familiar sight on Exordium's side with character 6, the chemist and the ranger. However, on Malif's side, we see something slightly different than normal with the engineer, the warrior, and the ranger deciding to switch out character 6. Deciding to switch out the berserker with the engineer. Let's see how that will work. Exordium trying to focus down Malif's ranger as fast as possible, but getting a decent amount of chip damage from that engineer. Is it going to be a problem? Who knows? But it looks like there's a lot of damage coming in from Malif's ranger as well. So both rangers looking a little bit, looks like they're going to have a little bit of a problem soon. Character 6 is lined up. Let's see what they do. It looks like character 6 is going to use that shock module to slowly pick away at Malif's ranger. Malif looking to use that engineer after the warrior. It looks like the engineer is going to use that. Looks like the engineer is going to use that fire lance to get off some damage, both on character 6 and the ranger. Getting off some assist damage right here from their ranger. It is character 6's turn. They're going to use a pressure release right there. Try to get that Malif's ranger down as much as they possibly can. It looks like that ranger is going to be taking lethal damage when their turn starts. And they do. So now it is time for Exordium's engineer, or excuse me, Exordium's chemist. They're going to delay their turn until after character 6. What are they going to do here? Looks like they're going to move character 6's totem to start getting in that elemental chip damage. Now that can definitely add up over time. Character 6, unfortunately, is, they only have so much health, but Exordium really using that combo with the chemist to try to get as many turns as possible. Seeing a lot of delayed turns here, looking to get in some interesting combos. Exordium uses that opportunity to really use that field kit so that they can get up some health, they can get their health rolling, they can get some, some additional bonus damage, especially since that character has relatively high health right now still. And that's going to add up over the turns. Now, Malif is going to take a little bit of damage there from that chip damage, but it looks like they're going to look to move that character out of the way and still use that Fire Lance as much as possible, taking out character 6. Exordium's ranger is still up, but this is looking like a lot closer match now, especially since character 6 was taken out. Exordium is now focusing their efforts on beefing up the ranger as much as possible so that they can deal some damage. So let's see what happens here. Who are they going to focus down? They're going to focus down the warrior, and they're going to go for that engineer. Looks like they're going to go for the engineer, but they are going to take that little bit of chip damage. I'm not sure if they calculated that into their strategy. So let's see what the warrior does, if they're able to do enough damage here. Because the warrior can do some damage. Malif's engineer can also do a little bit of damage as well. But it looks like they're going to try to use that focus ability as much as possible. In order to try, even if they miss the ranger, they are going to be able to do some damage to that chemist. So it looks like we do see a dodge from the ranger. However, it still does a decent amount of damage to that chemist. So they definitely think that it's going to be worth it here. Ranger is going to try to focus someone down at this point. It might be that engineer. Is it going to be enough damage with that quick shot? They're going to actually delay their turn. Now, the chemist is probably going to use that vigor potion to beef up that ranger, and they are going to do that so that Exordium can secure that knockout on Malif's engineer, leaving them with a kind of scary warrior, actually, with the last one standing bonus. However, Exordium does have 2 characters left, so that warrior will have to use that turn. Oh, and it's not going to be enough. It's just not enough because of the warrior's defensive stance here. So Exordium a little bit in a tight place. All right, and it looks like Malif is going to be able to take out Exordium's ranger pretty soon, actually. But we'll see what happens here. Maliv looking to get that extra little attack bonus from that Sentinel stance. And they do take out Exordium's Ranger, leaving them with a relatively healthy chemist as of right now. Well, let's see what they do. They still do, and Exordium concedes. That was going to be very tight. I'm not sure if Exordium could have pulled that one off. Odds are probably not, but, you know, here we are. So, taking that into consideration, it looks like this round is going to go to a best of 3 between Exordium and Maliv, unless things haven't updated on my end. And we're gonna see how that's gonna work. We're gonna pop over to Alphen and Sly real quick to see how that match is going. Alphen did take the win earlier, so let's see if Sly can come back from this and bring it to a best of 3. All right, we have some familiar formations here. One that's not as familiar on Sly's side, using the Ranger out in front, using evasive stance, slightly protecting character 6, who is slightly protecting this engineer. Let's see how this stacks up. We haven't really seen this one before in the tournament. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong. It looks like there's a slight problem on Sly's side, because it looks like their character 6 is going to get into that, is going to be pulled in pretty soon. Or they are able to get that combo off first, knocking out Alphen's engineer very quickly. We might see something very similar on Alphen's side, knocking out character 6, but it doesn't seem to be the truth here, because it looks like Alphen's Ranger was supporting their engineer, so unfortunately they were not able to get off that full combo here, kind of leaving that trap kind of just stranded at this point. The only way that Alphen can really take advantage of that trap as of right now is that if Sly moves a character in front of that trap, Alphen uses a focus ability on the warrior to push them into that trap, but unless Sly does a huge misplay, I don't think we're going to see that today. Sly able to get off another combo on Alphen at this point. Keeping that return fire up, making it costly for Alphen to do much of anything. It looks like this is going to be pretty close. Character 6 has been finished off, but both of Alphen's characters have less than 10 health. And it looks like Alphen might actually just lose that Ranger right now. So it looks like we're probably going to see a concede from Alphen, and there it is. There it is. A lot of quick matches here at the end of the tournament. Very exciting. People are figuring out, you know, what counters what at this point, and the big question is who's going to change their strategy in the middle of their best of 3 matches. Being able to shift strategies is super important at this point, because we're starting to figure out and realize which characters can counter others, especially when you have different layouts. So we're going to switch to a very important match right here between Exordium and Maliv. If Maliv takes this one, they're going to be able to battle it out with Warwick's for the title here. They're not able to get this win from Exordium. They are going to have to settle for second place here. So Exordium going for a very familiar layout right here. Maliv using that Ranger Engineer combo. Exordium going for an interesting immediate damage strategy, foregoing using that totem on character 6 for just a really quick piece of the damage there. Is that going to be enough? It might be. Exordium's Ranger is up again. Unfortunately for Exordium, it looks like Maliv is going to be able to get off a full combo pretty soon. They have 3 characters going on at once, but they instead don't decide to use that trap. They're just going to use some damage from just a good old combo here and really spread that damage out from that Fire Lance. So here we go. We are looking for a Fire Lance right now. And we see it. So we get 15 and 19 damage there. Supporting from that Ranger is able to take out character 6. And Exordium concedes, and that was it. All right. So it looks like Believe will be able to have a runoff fight against Warwick in order to take that title. We're going to just double check right here and look at the stats behind the scenes here. And it looks like the only fight that's left at this point is between Exordium and Sly Russian. It looks like we're going to try to see what's going to happen here. If Exordium decides it's worth it to try to go for another fight, to try to see if they can get that 3rd place, or if they're just going to let Sly Russian get their first placement in that tournament. All right. Let's just check the Discord real quick. All is silent on the Discord. Hopefully you're not all watching me. I'm just kidding. I will bring the commentary. So we're gonna see what happens here. If we're gonna have that runoff between Warwick and Maliv, or if we're just gonna see what happens. All right, how's everyone doing? Still doing good. We're doing strong. The stream has been a little bit longer than normal, but we're just about finishing this up. All right. So it looks like we are going to have that runoff battle for 1st and 2nd place between Warwick and Maliv. So let's see how this shapes up. We'll get you in there as soon as we can once we have that stuff set up as of right now. All right, so we do have one active battle right now, and we're going to switch to that for the time being. It is a battle between Alphen and Sly. Their best of 3 match right here. So I'm actually going to take a little bit of a breather, but I'll leave you guys here to watch the fight. Best of luck to both players. All right. And that's the conclusion for that match right there. So, hopefully everyone can hear me right now. Yeah, you totally can. Good. All right. So it looks like we're going to gear up for a match between Warwick and Malieve right here. Gonna get that link for that battle pretty soon. All right. What do we got? We have one more battle between Exordium and Sly, and we also have the final between Warwick and Malieve. So let's see who's going to start first, and we'll go from there. Looks like we're going to set up an official match invite behind the scenes pretty soon. Once that gets going, we'll have these final matches between Warwick and Malieve ready to go. Woo! Hey, thanks for sticking around, Alphen. Awesome job. Saw you do some really cool stuff. So, yeah, you know, glad to have you around, and we'll see you again hopefully soon, right? All right. Looks like Warwick and Malieve are selecting their characters right now. We'll hop in once the battle has started proper. All right. Woo. Appreciate all you guys for hanging on there. This has been a longer than normal stream for us, but we've seen some really cool fights, especially since we've seen a lot of stuff go to best of threes. As of right now, in all of our tournaments, I don't think we've seen that many best of threes, only a couple. And today we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 best of 3 matches, which is pretty much like 50-50 of all the matches. So some really, really tight plays right there. You know, a lot of stuff that could have gone either way. But we're, you know, couldn't have asked for a better tournament. So Warwick and Malieve still selecting their characters as of right now. So we're just gonna join in there once they're done. Do. Warwick and Malieve are now selecting their formations and their character loadout. So we're just gonna switch over there, and we'll see, you know, what characters they're starting to use. I'm just gonna wait on this screen, and they're ready to go. All right. So on Warwick's side, we have character 6. We have the ranger as well as the warrior. On the Leaf side, we have a berserker, a ranger, and a warrior. So this is, again, as I mentioned earlier before, some of the new battlefield layouts. And in these, positioning is like super important. So let's see what both of these players have learned over the course of the battles today. Looks like Maliv is taking advantage of Warwick's ranger being a little bit out in the open as of right now. Getting in some early chip damage there from the quick shot with the attack bonus, all that good stuff. Oh, yeah, I did get my green screen in. All right, yay. Doing good. Doing very good. Thanks for asking. Glad you could make the tournament. We're just finishing up the final right here. We had a round robin we had a round robin format today between 6 very talented players. 2 players have an equal lead here, winning 4 out of 5 matches. So we're just doing a runoff right now to see who's going to take away first place. We have a couple of things on the line here. Number 1 being a Steam gift card. First place gets a bigger one than the second place. Who would have thought? So this is going to be a really interesting match. Warwick's getting off a lot of damage on Maliv's Ranger. However, the Berserker and the Ranger together are going to be enough to knock out Warwick's Ranger, despite the Ranger having that dodge chance, which was mitigated for the most part by the Berserker's Trade Blows ability, which basically forces both characters to hit each other very hard. So we're going to see what Warwick's can do to come back from this. I believe does have that Ranger. Warwick is not going to be able to do 16 damage probably. Maybe they're going to try to do a pressure release right here to try to do as much damage as they possibly can, but not sure if that's going to be enough considering, Ranger's health right here. They have 11 health as of right now, so we'll see if they can survive. And they don't. Warwick was able to take out that character, absolutely pivotal in this fight, because that Ranger would have been very dangerous with that focus resource ready to go, whether that was healing, whether that was AoE damage, absolutely critical. So everyone is still in this game. Got a question here. Have any of the players used any gambits or combos they haven't thought of before? There have been a couple of situations of, I'm trying to think right here. As of right now, we up until this tournament, we hadn't seen a lot of interactions between quote defensive combos, so to speak. So basically using what we're seeing on the right hand side of the screen right here, between the warrior and the berserker, both using their basically their retaliation style stances, and lining those up, making melee style attackers on the opponent's side, basically giving them a very tough time in getting any damage output out. So Warwick's warrior is able to use some abilities to boost the performance of character 6 right now. But if, say, there was a berserker on Warwick's side, any attack by the berserker would have been incredibly painful because their attacks focus on melee, and so berserker using intimidate stance and the warrior using the sentinel, they're going to get in a lot of damage whenever they want to do any melee. So Believe was able to use those stances to her advantage and just really, make Warwick's have a little bit of a difficult time right now. Warwick's, though, definitely holding their own using the area control, using that pressure release and that totem. Really pushing Maliv into the corner as of right now, still using that pressure release in order to really try to get that Berserker to move out of the way. The Berserker is also slowed right now, an already slow character. So Warwick is going to be able to get some additional turns off at this point. Let's see what Warwick does right here. Can easily do some decent damage on that Berserker with their focus ability. Maybe even getting off, you know, a knockout on that Berserker, depending on what they do here. It might not be enough, so they might take some damage from that Berserker, but, you know, they are going to take some definite damage there, unfortunately. So I don't believe that Maliv is going to be able to finish off that warrior as of right now, but that's definitely going to hurt Warwick's in the long run. That being said, you know, Maliv basically has to target that warrior right now. They have to target the warrior because it's gonna be they can't get to character 6 due to the warrior's defensive stance right now, basically taking all melee damage. Warwick's character 6 still spreading out damage as they can, really trying to force them into difficult situations. So Warwick's is going to look to finish off that warrior, as we had expected. But it looks like that Berserker is not going to survive another round. So Warwick's is probably going to try to focus on getting as much damage off on the on the warrior as they can. Before the last one standing bonus really kicks in for the warrior. The Berserker can't quite get that damage off on that warrior, so Warwick is going to be able to get off one extra attack here. Let's see what they do. If they're going to try to finish off that Berserker, probably not. They really can't do much right now other than either delaying their turn, using their Inspire on character 6 to focus them up so that they can get off a nice big AoE attack later on, and that looks like that's what they're going to do. Maliv's still definitely in the game, especially if she can knock out Warwick's warrior pretty soon. They're going to have to do it, but it looks like they're going to pay the price regardless here. Is Warwick's going to use that focus ability right now? They could. They could try to do it now. However, they are going to lose that momentum they got from placing that totem. So they're going to have to reapply the totem. So they're going to have to figure out how that's going to work. They are going to use that system overload, which does a ton of damage. Unfortunately, it's not enough of a speed punishment on Maliv's warrior, so Maliv is able to use that warrior this turn. It looks like Maliv is going to have to take critical damage here because they don't have any like ranged abilities on there. So Warwick does take this first round. All right. We're just going to wait a moment here. I'm just going to check in on how these last fights have gone. And it looks like Sly was able to take Exordium in 2 matches in their best of 3. So Sly is able to, I believe, is a new contender here, able to take 3 wins out of 5 here. That's absolutely incredible. And so they're going to end up taking 3rd place. So congratulations, Sly. You know, welcome. Welcome to the winner's circle. So we're just going to wait a little bit until, you know, how we'll see what happens here. Warwick and Maliv getting ready for their 2nd round. Warwick's, in case you're just joining right now, Warwick's did take that first match out of 3. So Maliv does have to get 2 wins here in order to pull ahead and take this one home. Both of these players are tournament champions, so this is not their first rodeo. This is not their first time in this situation. Let's see who changes up their strategy, changes up their characters. Also, a lot of stuff can change depending on what the battlefield layout looks like. So we might get into a situation where players are able to pull out different strategies that they haven't been able to do so before because of how the battlefield really shapes your choices for characters. All right, it looks like Warwick and Maleev have started selecting their characters. So I'm just going to take a quick, 30-second break, and I'll be right back. Maybe not that quick. Hold on. And we're back. So Warwick and Maleev have just started their battle. They're in a very interesting loadout right now. Both players using character 6 on this very limited area battlefield. Let's see what they both do here. They're both leaving that kind of center tile open. Maleev going for that early damage again, foregoing putting down that totem. Warwick's putting down that totem. So we'll see what each player does. Warwick's might be planning on getting off those a big system overload turns. Maleev might be going for some of those more gradual chip damage strategies that we're seeing with character 6 teaming up with the ranger, just consistently getting in decent damage every single turn. So we'll see what happens. I mean, Maleev also has a very, very great strategy with using that trap. So Warwick's ranger not using that evasive stance right now, so they're definitely going to be taking that damage once Maleev's engineer is able to pull the ranger into the trap. That's if this engineer survives, and hopefully it does. We'll see what happens though. It's gonna be really close. Warwick's taking some time to think there. They're gonna try to get some attack bonus off of that sentinel stance. Let's see if they move anyone into that zone. Maleev doesn't really have much in the way of melee attacks, but we'll see what happens. Warwick's trying to get off as much elemental damage as they can on Maleev's engineer. However, the engineer does survive, at least for this round. So they are going to get that combo off, thankfully, for Maleev. But is that enough to take out the ranger? With the Ranger's support, it is enough to take out Warwick's Ranger. However, I believe is in a little bit of a tight spot with that Engineer. So they're going to have to try to get out of harm's way. Unfortunately for them, they are able to move out of the way there. They are going to take a little bit of damage from Levitate once that once the Engineer's turn is back. However, Warwick's can switch to Character 6's other stance, which does do 6 damage every round to someone in the same row as them. So they might just be able to finish off that Engineer with chip damage, unless Maliv is going to move their Character 6 into harm's way to potentially soak up some of that damage as well. But it's a long time before Maliv is going to be able to use that Engineer once again. That's a lot of turns in the turn order that are going to come up. So let's see if they think it's worth it or not. It might not. It might not. Who knows at this point? So they are going to try to save as much damage on that character as possible. But we'll see if that is actually going to pay off at this point, because basically, odds are like that character is going to have to do. Well, let's see. So we've got Character 6 coming up, and then it's going to be an additional 4 rounds after until that Engineer can go again. So basically, they're betting that out of those 4 rounds, that the Engineer is only going to take damage once. I believe it does 3 damage to the Engineer. It might do 2. In that case, if it only does 2, that it might be a little bit more in Maliv's favor. But unfortunately for them, those odds are not super great looking. That's my technical opinion right here. The odds are not in Maliv's favor in regards to having the Engineer survive. So so Warwick's is actually able to use that pressure release. They're not going to gamble on that. They're going to take the sure thing and knock out Maliv's Engineer. So for the time being, if that Engineer gets knocked out, Maliv is probably going to have to move their Character 6 out of the way of the totem so they don't keep on taking that chip damage from that stance. So let's see what Maliv's Character 6 does here. There's a lot of health on Warwick's side. However, Maliv does have a full health Ranger still active. And sure enough, they're going to try to use as much of that support damage as possible to knock out Warwick's Character 6 as much as they can. Now, it seems like a combination of Maliv's pressure release that's going to start on Warwick's Character 6's next turn, plus Maliv's Ranger, if they do, one attack in this time on Warwick's Character 6, that's going to be able to take them out. However, it might come down to a very classic matchup of a full health warrior against a full health ranger late in the game. So the warrior basically being a more slow and steady, high defense character who is able to consistently get off decent damage. However, the ranger is a little bit more tricky in terms of how they do damage and how they survive. So depending on how the RNG goes, we might see anything could happen at this point, especially since both players are looking to knock out Character 6 as soon as possible so they can, so they don't have to worry about that pressure release anymore. So Maliv getting in a little bit of a quick shot there. Let's see what Maliv does here, because it looks like Maliv is trying to finish off that Character 6. But they think that that damage from the pressure release is going to be enough at the start of Warwick's turn. So Character 6, depending on if they can take 8 damage or not at the start of their turn, we might see some additional turns out from Warwick's at this point. However, looking at the turn order, it looks like Maliv's going to be able to get some extra damage off. That's a huge amount of damage from that pressure release. Absolutely enough to knock out Warwick's Character 6. So Maliv does have 2 characters up right now, particularly dangerous with the Ranger's support stance, able to get in a lot of damage over time here. Neither of these characters really relying on melee, so the warrior is only going to be able to get off that additional damage from their basic attacks as opposed to their stance, which would be absolutely devastating at this point if Maliv had, say, a warrior or a berserker on their team, but they don't. So Maliv's just going to keep on chipping away from range, it looks like. They're already going to use pressure release once again with the Ranger's support. The warrior is going to have to survive, that next pressure release. Let's see if they have enough defense at this point. And they don't survive. And that's the game. So, what do we got here? So we have Warwick's taking the first match in this best of 3, and then Believe coming back and able to take that second round. So we're gonna have to go to best of 3 at this point. We're gonna have to go all the way here, all 3 matches to see who's gonna take away this first place trophy. I wouldn't expect anything less. Both of these players are very talented, and they really understand how this game is played at the highest level. So it doesn't surprise me in the least that we are getting to a best of 3 match here. All right, it looks like Warwick's and Maliv are already ready to start another match. They're just going to start choosing their players pretty soon. Or excuse me, their characters. They're going to start choosing their characters, and then we will join up with them pretty soon. And again, if you're watching this and you haven't followed, this Twitch channel, feel free to do so. I don't know where the button is. I'm not in Twitch right now, so I gotta figure out where it is. It's somewhere on this screen. So if you're watching and you have a Twitch account, click that follow. Join us in the Discord. Follow us on Twitter. All that good stuff. So you can see, you can participate in these matches. So you can just even watch if you just want to do that. We love to see new people in the stream, new people participating in the tournament, and you could just play the demo if you wanted to. Once you join the Discord, a bot will message you, will DM you all the information that you need. Automatically creates an account for you. You just got to use your Discord ID to log in, and you just got to set your password and all that good stuff. And then you're ready to go. And then you can start playing this game. You can play against the AI, and then you can also play multiplayer as well. You can create your own matches, and that's already in the game. So there's no barrier to entry. You guys can start playing as soon as you want, and you can sign up to the tournaments. Even up to the last few minutes before the tournament starts. It's really easy to get you guys in and get you into this tournament. So our tournaments are every other week, and they coincide with our patch releases. We drop patches on Wednesdays, or excuse me, every other Wednesday. And we have a tournament that follows up on that. So generally, we have balance changes, new characters, new features into the game that change how the game is played. And this time, what's different this time around are those battlefield layouts, and that has seen a huge shift in the meta. So there's definitely a lot of room for things to shake up the game at this point. So you don't have to feel intimidated about joining up, because a lot of people are learning the game at the exact same time as you are. And we've had people, new players today, walk away with three wins. Sly, I don't believe has been a tournament participant before, but they walked away with 3 wins out of 5. That's absolutely incredible. And they've played the game, and I've had people message me and say that they've only they played the game for a few hours before, and they are still able to play on a relatively competitive level, and they enjoy themselves. So seriously, we're super welcoming too. So if you have any questions on the Discord, you can just like post your questions there. You can private message me, or like anybody on the team, Jason, Paul, or me. I'm Andrew, and at that point, we can help you out. If you're having like technical difficulties about installing the game or getting it working or anything like that, we have a channel for that as well. So seriously, we'd love to see you there. It looks like the last battle between Warwick and Maliv is starting, and we're going to join in right now. All right, let's get in. All right, seen a lot of character 6 again. Maliv using that combo with the Engineer and the Ranger. Warwick's using, character 6 and the Ranger and the Warrior, trying to protect character 6 as much as possible, have them survive, because they can really get in a lot of damage over a long period of the game, essentially. So Warwick's trying to knock out character 6 as fast as possible. Maliv using a trap-based strategy, since they understand that their Engineer might be able to survive to get off a few traps. Especially since it looks like Warwick is trying to focus down character 6. Warwick's really thinking about what they want to do here, where they want to move, what they want to do. Either way, character 6 is in a little bit of trouble, because they can definitely get pulled into that trap, regardless of where they go at this point. Things might have been different if they had delayed their turn and had the Warrior go first to move them out of the way and put character 6 into the place of the Warrior. That could have been an option, but they decided that putting down that totem was absolutely crucial to their strategy. So Warwick is able to knock out Maliv's character 6 very quickly, rather. So we're seeing an early lead from Warwick's here. However, Maliv's combo is just about ready to go. So they will be able to pull character 6 into that trap. Warwick's thinking about how to stop that combo from going off. And are they thinking about putting the Warrior into the trap right now, preemptively, to try to save character 6 from taking a lot of damage? They might be doing that. They might be weighing their options. So we'll see what happens here. And it looks like they're taking a long time. Nope, they decide to stay where they are. They said, you know what? I need this Warrior more than I do this other character. Between the Warrior and the character 6, they need the Warrior more. So they're going to allow that character 6 to be pulled into the trap. They have the combo with the Ranger, able to do a ton of damage, able to finish that character off in one big combo. So we're down to a 2v2 situation between Maliv and Warwick's here. Rangers up on both sides, Warrior up on one side, Engineer on the other. Warwick is going to have to take that Engineer out as soon as possible, because if Maliv gets down to a 1v1 situation between the Warrior and the Engineer, the Warrior is not going to be able to Warrior's not going to be able to get off any attacks on them, because they're able to levitate and not be hit by melee attacks. They can only be targeted by ranged. So it's interesting that Warwick is using the Ranger to start to try to go after the Ranger as soon as they possibly can here. But we might see a change of strategy at some point. Let's see who Maliv is going to target here. She could target the Ranger, because the Ranger is very vulnerable right now, because they don't have their dodge up, or they can try to go for the Warrior, because the Warrior gets very dangerous later on in the match. However, they do want to force that 1v1 situation between the Engineer and the Warrior, so they are going to go for Warwick's Ranger at this point. Warwick's Warrior is up. Let's say if they continue to try to focus down that ranger, they might be able to do so because of that support stance from Warwick's ranger. So they might be able to get off a lot of damage here. 17 damage from the warrior, an additional 10 from the ranger. Warwick's also has their ranger up next. So let's see how much damage they can do here. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do enough. They have a little bit of RNG here because I believe it's going to do 9 to 11 damage. So one of those numbers is right, and that's 12 right there. They have a little bit of extra damage there from the bonus for characters standing side by side. So they're able to inch that out and be able to take out Maliv's ranger. Now we have a 2v1 situation with Maliv. They're in a little bit of predicament right now because basically what they have to do to knock out Warwick's characters is they're going to have to stay away from melee style attacks. So they're going to have to use either the arm hook or they're going to have to use that fire lance in order to start doing some damage from afar. They're also going to have to use levitate. However, that's not effective against Warwick's ranger. That's only effective against the warrior. So unfortunately, Maliv, she was not able to take out that ranger as fast as she wanted to. So she's leaving that one up, unfortunately. So we do have a warrior and a warrior and a ranger up on Warwick's side, and Maliv says, nope, that's not going to happen. So we do have a concede for Maliv, which leaves us with Warwick's taking this tournament. So I believe this is Warwick's second tournament that they have basically, become the champion of at this point. So that's really exciting. So a lot of strong matches today between Warwick's, Maliv, Sly doing some interesting stuff, coming from out of nowhere to get some cool matches, like all around really high level play from every single player here. So do not be discouraged if you didn't put up a lot of numbers on this board. There's, this is a very interesting situation we've got here with the new patch, basically shaking things up. And you guys only had 4 days? 4 days to 4 days to practice with these new layouts. So seriously, round of applause to everybody. But seriously, congrats to Warwick's, Maliv, and Sly. You've all really, I've seen some awesome combos today, and we're definitely gonna try to cut those out and clip them and post them because there's some really cool stuff that has happened. So seriously, well played. Again, if you guys aren't in the Discord, that's our extension right there, Stray Basilisk. If you're not following on Twitter, that's it right there. Should be sure to follow us on Twitch. Just hit that button up there, and so you guys know when we're having tournaments. If you really want to know when we're having tournaments, you can do a few other things. If you want to go onto our website, which is straybasilisk.com, you can join our newsletter. You can wishlist us on Steam. You can get another link to the Discord there. And yeah, there's a lot of different ways for you guys to support us. But do whatever you guys want to do. But I'm personally super excited for, how many people we got out here today. And yeah, that was an absolutely awesome tournament. So congrats to everybody. You all did incredibly well. And yeah, I want to stick around for a couple more minutes. You guys have any questions or anything like that, or whatever? I'm just gonna hang around for another couple minutes, and then that'll be it for today. So. All right, how long have you been streaming for today? That is 4 hours and about 15 minutes. So it's 4 hours and 12 minutes. So I'm gonna stick around for 2 more minutes to round it out to 15. Rutabiga, I am still making out all of these sound effects for Steamhounds. Paul Sim, who is Gramophones in there, he is making the music. So all this lovely music that you hear right now, that is Paul. Once in a couple of months, we're gonna have a really huge overhaul implemented into the visual overhaul implemented into the game. Excuse me, and we will, that requires a lot of characters to have new sounds. So we'll have. I have a lot of work ahead of me to match up with all of the awesome animations that we've been getting from our team. Like they've created some really cool stuff, and the sounds have to match up. They have to be cool too. So we'll get there. Yeah, that's what we're doing right now. All right. It's been awesome. Thanks to everybody who came out today. Thanks for everybody for participating. Special thanks for Malie for dropping in to do some color commentary today on one of our matches. And yeah, see all you guys next time.